Hey, spooky strangers. Ha, did you see what I did there?
I saw what you did there. You're pulling a Kurt.
I am. Welcome to another episode of The Strange Sessions. As always, I'm Krista. This is Kurt.
Hi, I'm Kurt.
I'm getting a jump start on spooky season because I am so ready, even though it's, August
Yeah, but it
10th?
feels like
It's a little chill
October
in the
outside.
air.
It's chilly out
so
there this
good.
morning.
I actually saw some leaves that are starting to change, and it made my heart sing.
Yeah, I'm staying at Corey's house because they're camping, and I walked out to get in my car, and I'm like, oh, it's chilly out here. It was actually like chilly.
Windows open. I love it.
But we'll have another 90 degree day coming up
Of
soon,
course we will.
I'm sure.
Probably several. Probably for my vacation, because that would only make sense.
Yeah, that would.
Hey,
Speaking of which.
Oh.
Speaking of which.
You go first.
Our next. We're taking a little bit of a hiatus, but our next episode for you guys will be new. It's just that we recorded it like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be coming for the next episode. And then after that, we'll be back with a brand new episode. So you guys won't even really notice that we're on hiatus, but technically we're on a little bit of a hiatus.
Yeah.
But there will be a new episode for you in 2 weeks. It'll be a listener suggestions episode.
Sweet.
Yep.
Also, if you don't want to sit through the next 20-ish minutes of us doing a taste test, welcoming new strangers, and
join the club.
Either complaining or talking about how much we love the weather.
Yeah,
join the club, A. B, just hit pause, check the show notes. We'll post the topic, timestamp start. So,
shout outs to our two newest strangers who joined our strangers Facebook group, and those are Caden Knott and Kelly Brusky, who is my cousin.
Oh, nice.
And I believe she went to Whitewater.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so did Robin. A bunch of my cousins went. I knew Shayna went there, but a bunch of my cousins went there, so that's actually super exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool.
As you can see, we're wearing our Whitewater gear from our road trip there.
Yep.
I'm also wearing my Felicity Was Here cap, which was given to me by the Felicity Was Here podcast.
Nice.
Love those ladies. Thank you so much, you guys.
I would just like to mention you started Gilmore Girls.
I did. I finished my rewatch of Felicity. So good. Like, oh my God. I just love that show. And I started Gilmore Girls, and I'm realizing it makes me always want coffee when I watch it.
Oh, yeah.
She's
it's
always
such a
getting
focus.
coffee.
Yeah.
But there's a difference going from Felicity to Gilmore Girls, because Gilmore Girls is way more rapid fire and loud.
Yeah, the dialogue.
And Felicity is very quiet and very slow. So it's taking me a little bit of an adjustment.
I think Felicity's probably a little bit more serious.
Not
as much.
Not really.
I think I maybe watched a season. I should actually watch it.
You should actually watch it.
You're watching Gilmore Girls.
You
I
should watch
Felicity.
Felicity.
Is it on Netflix?
Hulu.
Hulu. I don't have Hulu.
Oh, I can give you the DVDs. I have the DVD set.
Maybe
Next time I come, I'll bring
Okay.
them. The last 5 episodes, I can't get over how crazy they are because, like I said, I mean, the whole thing is she going to take Ben or is she going to choose Noel? Mm-hmm. And she obviously picks one of them. And the ending is perfect. The series ends perfect. And then the show that was replacing it got canceled before. So they called J.J. Abrams and were like, hey, we need 5 new episodes.
Oh.
And he's like, the show is done. So he needed to do 5 episodes.
That's weird.
And then they did this crazy J.J. Abrams thing where Felicity wonders if she made the right choice. And her roommate, Megan, who's probably my favorite character on the show, is Wiccan. And she does a spell and it sends Felicity back in time.
I feel like I could dig this.
Yeah, so it's like time, like out of nowhere.
Like, so she can see what the other decision
decision would have been like. So it's typical J.J. Abrams craziness.
Yeah.
But you should watch it.
I actually watched the first episode of Lost last night because I was like, do I want to start it? I can't just watch the last season.
No.
Because I don't remember what
You
happened.
need to start over. Yeah. I loved Lost.
How far did you get into Gilmore Girls? Just the first episode?
First 2 episodes.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I just
got
to
the first season's not my favorite, actually.
I just got to the one where she knocks over that snotty student.
Oh, Paris.
Yeah,
Paris is Jim's
one of the
favorite
girls. I got a crush
actually.
on one of the girls in that Mean Girl.
Oh, the
group.
blonde or the brunette?
She's got like reddish, brunettish hair. She was the one that when they were sitting outside the window was freaked out that there were bugs and stuff crawling on her.
She's blonde. Oh,
I thought it was like reddish.
She's really kind of snotty. Just the other one has like little micro bangs, right? Like dark hair and micro bangs.
That's the one I like.
Oh,
I think.
She's the sweeter one of the two snotty girls, actually.
I like it, but like I said, it's such a change going from Felicity.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough.
Wow.
That's enough Felicity talk.
Like we could do a side session.
Yeah. Yep. What else do we got to talk about? Anything else, or do we just jump into this?
Taste test?
Yeah, I feel like.
And you got to open another thing from Michaela.
Yeah.
No mail?
No mail.
Okay, good.
I haven't checked the last couple days, but no mail. I feel like there was something else we were going to talk about, but I can't think of what it was.
We have to remember to talk about our weird driving experience.
Yes, I thought about that.
Is that in your notes anywhere?
No, I thought about that laying in bed this morning. So this taste test was given to me by my good friend Marcy, and today is actually her birthday.
Happy birthday, Marcy.
Happy birthday, Marcy. But she won't hear it until tomorrow, obviously. I don't think she's a subscriber.
Okay.
But she gave me this for us to try. I'm excited. It's going to be sweet.
Okay. Oh, my. Berry freeze. Oh, so it's like freeze-dried
gummy bears.
Oh, interesting. It looks like cereal.
Big Tricks. It looks like
it
big
totally looks like Big Tricks. I couldn't think of the name of the cereal.
Yep.
But
It looks like Big Tricks.
Interesting. Okay. Wait, hold on. Last time I posted a picture, it had my password for Premiere Pro.
No, who's one of our strangers said that?
Yeah.
They're
Is
like,
that a password?
Do you want that on there? It's like, whoops,
Probably
no,
not.
we don't.
I mean, unless they want to break in and do video editing for me.
Yeah, that would be.
I'll take it.
How do you freeze dry gummy bears?
I don't know. Oh, yeah, it smells very sugary. Are they different flavors?
I'm guessing so because I think gummy bears
I'm going to grab just a couple. I'm doing purple
I'm gonna do
and
one.
Orange. I should hold that bag up to the camera, too.
I'm going to do yellow.
I'm trying to take pictures.
It looks like a Big Tricks.
It does. Ooh, sorry, I just smacked my face on the...
I mean, they can't be bad. They cannot be bad.
Oh.
And she throws it down.
I just fell all over the floor. Don't worry about that later.
Let the ants get those.
Yeah, no.
You ready? Oh my God. That is a Big Tricks. Mine tasted exactly like a Tricks.
I feel like they're more concentrated flavor. Purple.
Oh. Yeah.
It's really... Are you going to eat one off the floor right now?
Eat several.
Wow, they're really crunchy. Sorry.
I like these.
They're very...
Sweet.
Yep. Oh, thank you. I have to come down here and vacuum. This one was in the bag, everybody.
Thank you, Marcy. I'm going to give them a 10 out of 10. They're better than I expected them to be. I love them.
Influencer famous? What does that mean?
Are we influencers?
No.
Okay. I was wondering about that. I really like
I don't want to be an influencer.
10 out of 10. I love these.
Hold on, one more.
What do you... I'm guessing you're going to give it an 8.
I don't think they taste like gummy bears, though.
No. I think they taste like giant Trick cereal.
Yeah, I'm giving it an 8. They're just a little too much.
Mm-mm.
Satisfying crunch. I don't like how they stick in my teeth.
The tooth sticking thing is annoying, but I really enjoy them. Thank you, Marcy.
Let's check Michaela's box.
Yep, grab something from her box.
I'm just gonna reach in. Oh, here. So there's a Post-it on this side.
For Lucy.
Well, that'll work.
Dog treats, not people treats.
Dog treats, not people treats. That was very sweet.
Thank you so much, Michaela. Lucy will love those because Lucy's Jim is not...
Oh, look at this cutie little bag with the sharks all over it.
Jim was out of town last night, so
yeah.
Lucy misses him.
She's probably watching for him right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Oh, my God. I like these so much.
Oh, my gosh. Look at how cute. It's like a shark cookie.
Oh, that is cute.
Hand-decorated dog treat. I need to take a picture of that.
I'm glad she wrote on there for the dog.
Yeah, because
otherwise we would have been like, oh, this is...
This has no flavor because you don't really want to put much flavor in dog treats. No sugar, no salt.
Yeah,
I have to open it up and take a picture because this is so cute. I'll try not to drop it on the floor. Oh my gosh, look at how adorable that is.
It looks like a really good cookie.
Yeah, it does.
Lucy will love that. Thank you, Michaela.
Thank you, Michaela. So sweet. I love that someone thought of Lucy.
We will delve more into your box. Maybe we'll do another one at the end of the episode.
Okay. Cool.
Because we're not going to be here for a little while.
All right.
What you should do is come down and see what's edible in there. Just in case.
I could do that.
In case. What time are we looking at?
We're ahead of schedule, so we're good.
Good, because this might be a little bit of a longer episode.
Let's do it.
We talked about the weather. I don't feel good. I always got to bring that up.
Do we need to talk about your diet again?
Yeah, probably.
What are you eating, Kurt?
That freaking McDonald's $5 meal. I just can't. I can't quit it.
Yes, you can.
I'm trying. Yeah.
Try ordering a salad.
Aaron sent home a bunch of food with me, so I've been eating that. He needs to like open a diner.
Yeah.
Seriously, like his food is freaking amazing. It's so good.
What is he sending home with you?
So he sent home this thing he made with like kielbasa, potatoes, sauerkraut. He's sending home in a ice cream pail because he's got a lot left. He sent home chili. He makes this, and I said he could sell this in a diner. It's curry egg salad, and it's so good. And
I love curried chicken salad. I bet I'd like curried egg salad.
And then he makes a BLT dip. He makes a deviled egg dip.
Ooh, yum.
He made subs. He made this like I don't even know what to call it. It's like a dip kind of, but it's made with stuff you put in a sub, like ham pieces, onions, and it's like chopped up.
That sounds good.
It is so good. Like his cooking is just amazing.
Well, sauerkraut's good for you. Potatoes are good for you.
Yeah.
Chili is good for you. It's got lots of fiber and
Yes.
stuff in it. So at least you're getting more than McDonald's.
Yes.
Do I need to start sending food home with you?
You might have to. I'm just going to eat these. I'm just going to live off these.
Oh, boy.
That'll be good.
It'll help your tooth problem. It'll...
Yeah. My tooth problem is I got to go to I just don't want to go to the dentist until I get a job.
When do you know if you have badger care?
I do.
Oh, then why don't you go?
I don't know. I'm convinced.
Okay.
I'm convinced now that it's not my tooth. It's more my gums.
Well, still, you'd want to go to the dentist. They'll do an x-ray.
I'm scared of the dentist.
But the longer you put it off, the scarier it's going to get.
I'm just going to bring these and eat them in the dentist
Yeah,
office.
he'll be picking them out of your teeth. I think we've discovered the problem here, Kurt.
Anyway, should we jump in today's story?
Let's do it.
The first part of today's story is... You talk about it because I'm eating.
Whitewater. The second Salem.
Wisconsin.
Salem.
Yep. Which is crazy that I never realized that Whitewater had such a background of witchcraft and hauntings and all that stuff. So it was kind of crazy to me. And once we started talking about that, you went to college there. So it's like we decided we had to go there. And we did. Couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and I'll say I wasn't aware of any of that when I went there, but the internet wasn't really much of a thing back then either.
No. So what's it like living in Whitewater? Here are some comments from Reddit. Somebody writes, got a job interview in Whitewater soon and was wondering what kinds of things there are to do, things to see, the social life, etc. Somebody responded,
bars.
Somebody responded, nothing, cornfields. Source, I'm a student. Somebody else responded, also student, can confirm.
Yeah.
Somebody else writes, agreed, was student, confirmed. It's great if you're an alcoholic who hates good weather. Somebody else says,
accurate.
It's a pretty quiet, nice, small town about 40 miles outside of 2 or 3 decent-sized cities. It's a college town, so there are university amenities, but there's not a Target in town, and there's not.
There's a Walmart, though.
Somebody else writes, the students are king in town. You can tell a huge difference in town activity when students go home for a weekend, winter break, summers, etc. There are actually a lot of great trails within Whitewater for running or walking, including a trail system on campus. Somebody else says, I'm a few years removed from living in Whitewater, but there are a handful of good restaurants, mostly located downtown. Somebody else responds, I grew up there, left after high school, and have almost never been back. I used to visit my parents occasionally, but they moved out when they retired. I'm sure it's changed quite a bit, but as of 15 years ago, it was completely barren of all culture or anything of interest to a normal adult. It was hard to even find a decent cup of coffee, much less a nice restaurant. I enjoyed growing up there, loved it as a kid, but there's nothing there for an adult. Somebody else said, like many here, went to college here, and meh. No matter where you live, housing will be more expensive because it's a college town. Weekends are dead. It's a suitcase campus. Thursday night is the bar night for everyone. Summers are also dead. And then somebody else, I'll end this with somebody saying, I grew up in Whitewater. Stay away. Is it just a Wisconsin thing that Thursday nights are just like a crazy bar night?
I don't know.
I know
That's
people.
a good point, but I remember that being the night.
I know people have come here from out of state, and they're like, "Oh my god!" On a Thursday night, it's like a Saturday night in the bars because everybody's out at the bars.
And you probably schedule your load on Friday pretty late, or late in the morning,
or just go to school hungover.
Yeah, there's that too.
Which I'm no stranger.
So
to.
when I was going there, I wasn't 21 yet. So I didn't, when I first started there, it was the following year I could go to the bars and stuff.
See, when I went to UWGB, I was 21. That's when we used to have our pitchers of beer down in the Rathskeller at the university campus. So from the Whitewater Historical Society website, the Discover Whitewater website, and Wikipedia, here's a little bit about the history of Whitewater. The Potawatomi, and that's easy for me to say because I hear it so much, but for somebody from out of state, it's a very hard word for them to say because I've watched people try to say it.
Yeah.
The Potawatomi,
we have a lot of Native American named
The Potawatomi
areas.
were part of a large group of Algonquin-speaking people who migrated into Wisconsin from Canada via Upper Michigan. This group split into two tribes that are still important in the state, the Ojibwe in the north and the Potawatomi in the south.
Which we just talked about a few episodes ago.
Yep. Until 1833, the Potawatomi lived in southeastern Wisconsin, including the area that became Whitewater. The United States government convinced most of the Potawatomi to give up their lands in southern Wisconsin in 1829 and 1833. In 1832, a group of Sauk and Fox people, under the leadership of a warrior named Black Hawk, traveled through southern Wisconsin as they fled from both Illinois and Wisconsin militia and federal government troops. Known as the Black Hawk War, the conflict between Black Hawk and federal troops was, in reality, a chase and eventual massacre of many of Black Hawk's followers who were caught near the Mississippi River and killed. The Black Hawk War was short-lived and tragic for Black Hawk's people, but has had a lasting mythology in southern Wisconsin. Abraham Lincoln was part of a militia unit that was chasing Black Hawk, and Black Hawk himself has been given almost heroic status in Wisconsin. But the lasting result of this conflict was that after Black Hawk's defeat, Native American claims to land and, for the most part, their ability to live in northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin was terminated.
Do you talk about the mascot for Whitewater at all?
No.
They're the Warhawks. So it makes me wonder if that is somehow inspired
that's probably inspired by Black Hawk. Evidence of historic Native Americans in the area was present when the first whites arrived at the Whitewater site in 1837. The early settlers recorded what they called an old, quote, Indian village of circular pole structures without their coverings. These house frames were the type of buildings constructed by the Potawatomi people. The Potawatomi has referred to the area as, quote, Minneska, meaning Whitewater, named for the white sands of the Whitewater River, now called Whitewater Creek. In 1836, Alvin Foster made his stake on the land by marking his name on a tree. At that time, that was all one needed to make a legal claim on a piece of land. I should try doing that. Just put my name on a tree and be like, this is my land now. What you going to do about it? Step up. In 1837, Samuel Prince built the first log cabin near the current site of Whitewater's effigy mounds. After a 6-day trip on foot, 20 settlers arrived here from Milwaukee and started the early makings of Whitewater.
Do the effigy mounds still exist? We should have visited
I was just thinking that. I was like, why did we visit the effigy mounds? At the beginning, that's what I was going to say at the beginning. So after the end music for the episode, Krista and I did our road trip, and I have just like a 12.5-minute clip of us talking in the car or us walking in the cemetery. And I didn't know if I wanted to put it in the episode or not. So after the end music at the end of this episode, we will put that 12.5-minute clip if you want to listen to it. If you want to listen to us fumbling around trying to figure out how to get into a cemetery and all that fun stuff. So it'll be after the end music if you're interested. Okay. At the beginning, it consisted almost entirely of settlers who arrived there from New England. They were part of a wave of New England farmers who headed west into what was then the wilds of the Northwest Territory during the early 1800s. They brought with them many of their Yankee New England values, such as a strong desire to end slavery and a passion for education, establishing many schools in the area as well. As the town grew, unlike most of Wisconsin, it was notable for not being heavily German American. Like most of Wisconsin is German heritage, and Whitewater wasn't.
That's interesting.
Whitewater had almost no German Americans at a time when the state as a whole was receiving a ton of German immigrants and German influence. A mill was built on Whitewater Creek, and the town grew quickly when the first railroad line in Wisconsin passed through it in 1853. After World War II, Whitewater became known almost exclusively as a, quote, college town. The Whitewater School was slowly transformed between 1950 and 1975. During this period, student enrollment went from less than 1,000 students to over 10,000 students, and the school then became a university.
Dang.
As of the 2020 census, the population was 14,889 people.
Like during
I don't know.
the
I don't know if
year?
that's during the school, because there's a huge difference between
Huge.
during the school year and when school is not in session. It's smaller than I expected. It really is. Like,
And it's grown a lot since
Yeah.
I was there.
yeah.
Downtown, it looks a little tired. It's cute, but it's a little tired.
I
Little rundown.
You think so?
I think so.
thought downtown area was really cute.
It was cute. It just I feel like it could use a little revitalization.
It was no Stars Hollow, but it was
No,
cute.
it was no Stars Hollow.
It was cute. And if people that think this is small, go to Lakeland College.
Yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, Lakeland College
Literally in the middle
is
of a
literally
cornfield.
in the middle of a cornfield. And it's a
Beautiful
college.
campus, though.
But I love reading reviews of it where people go there and they're like, oh my God, what do we do? Because there's like, you can drive to Sheboygan.
If you don't have a car.
No, you can drive to Sheboygan. You can drive to New Holstein. You can drive to Kiel.
Manitowoc.
But that's
Plymouth.
that's still like, what is it, 20 minutes away? It's literally in the middle of a cornfield.
Yeah.
Like, I would have loved to have gone to college there. I think that's really quaint, I guess.
It's pretty.
Coffee. So we get to Morris Pratt, which is very interesting. From Wisconsin Fright's website, from an article called, quote, Mary Worth, Morris Pratt, and the Legends of Whitewater, the article says, Morris Pratt, a New York native, emigrated to Wisconsin in the 1850s. He built a successful farm in the Whitewater area. He was very interested in spiritualism, and he and a number of neighboring families who frequented the seances in Lake Mills would host renowned mediums from around the country to commune with their dead loved ones in their homes. That was like during that age when they were doing seances and all that stuff.
Table tipping.
Pratt was also known to engage in frequent arguments with ministers who criticized spiritualism. He was forcibly ejected from a church on more than one occasion.
Like carried out kind of thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
Carried out or kicked out? I don't know.
Literally tossed out the front door.
Frustrated, he wished for a way to teach what he believed were the scientific truths of the spiritual life. During a seance in the early 1880s, Pratt vowed that if he ever became wealthy, he would dedicate much of his money to spiritualism. I'm shutting off my phone too right now. Turning off the sound. Okay.
Actually, I'm checking to see where Jim is. He literally just left his friend's house.
Oh.
So he's on his way home now. Yay.
Lucy will be happy.
Yes, she will.
If he ever became wealthy, he would dedicate much of his money to spiritualism. To his good fortune, a powerful mystic was present that day whose psychic abilities would soon help him achieve his goals. In 1853, a 27-year-old school teacher in Waterloo named Mary Hayes Chenoweth had an experience that changed her life forever. She was in the kitchen of the family farm where she lived with her parents when she felt something she described as a, quote, force take control of her body. Mary felt herself drop to her knees, and she began to pray in a language that neither she nor her father nearby could recognize. The force told her that she would spend the rest of her life healing others. Afterwards, she discovered that she had the ability to peer into the bodies of the sick, to see the diseases ailing them, and to remove them. She learned how to take the sickness into her own body, which would cause her to break out into blisters and rashes, but otherwise didn't harm her. Spirit knocking and other supernatural phenomena were being practiced by mediums across the country in exchange for money. Mary believed those were mostly hoaxes, and she did no such thing, which is cool, that she didn't charge people for
Yeah.
this.
That's immediately a red flag.
Yeah. She began accepting sick visitors into her home, as well as traveling around Wisconsin, healing people for free. She believed that she needed to use the power given to her by God to help those in need rather than faking spiritual communication to take money from the grieving. Her son, J.O. Hayes, wrote in 1938, Mrs. Hayes was not a medium. In her young womanhood, she became very much interested in the question of man's immortality and prayed for 2 years. She prayed for 2 years very earnestly and devotedly that she might know the truth regarding it. As a result of this effort, she passed through an experience somewhat similar to that of Jesus in the wilderness as recorded in the Bible. She spoke in tongues unknown to her. She restored those possessed to a normal condition and did untold miraculous things that could not be explained by the use of any ordinary human methods. From that time until her death, a large part of her time was given to healing the sick, and she did this without charge or financial compensation. So Pratt's vow about wanting to scientifically study spiritualism captured Mary's attention. She had been attending seances in Lake Mills and Whitewater at the recommendation of her friend Warren Chase. Chase published a weekly newspaper called the Spiritual Telegraph. That's such a cool name for a paper, Spiritual Telegraph, and is credited with being the first to spread spiritualism around Wisconsin and Illinois. He had expressed to Mary a desire to open a school in the area. Mary asked Pratt, "Do you intend, if made wealthy, to carry out your promise?" Pratt confirmed that he meant what he said and that he would use his money to support the movement of spiritualism. Mary then told Pratt, along with her 2 sons who were lawyers with interests in mining, to invest in a barren and seemingly worthless tract of land in northern Wisconsin and Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Mary claimed to have been guided to this land by her controlling spirit, an old German professor, while in a trance. Some weird stuff here. Mm-hmm. Pratt and Mary's sons did as Mary instructed. The Hayes Brothers Company, with Pratt as a stockholder, bought that land, opened the Ashland iron mine, and began digging. The land yielded nothing for the first couple years. Pratt came to Mary with doubts on several occasions, but she urged him to continue on and to be patient. Then, in 1886, a discovery was made. The land Mary had recommended was found to be the heart of a massive iron range, which I guess that's a huge thing up there. Like
an iron range?
An iron range. Okay. Like just tons of iron. And was filled with high-grade Bessemer ore, some of the best in the region. Pratt and the Hayes brothers became wealthy practically overnight. It's crazy to me that she led them there, and then they ended up finding this. I
mean, coincidence,
or it's
or
rare
was
ore.
She actually,
actually led there.
Right.
Pratt set out to fulfill his promise without hesitation. In 1888, he laid the foundation for a building in Whitewater without knowing exactly what purpose it would serve. He just told people it would be used, quote, in the interests of spiritualism. Locals scoffed. The construction became known around town as Pratt's Folly, but Pratt never backed down. He said, "I made a vow before I made my investment that I would erect a temple to the spirit world and to share the profits I was about to realize. And I intend to do just that." Upon its completion, Pratt and his wife left their farm and moved in to occupy several rooms within the ornate 3-story building. They held public seances there for many years before Pratt decided to make Whitewater the mecca of modern spiritualism by opening the world's only school dedicated to the study of the spirit world. I think that's so cool. Mm-hmm. In 1902, while making plans to open the school, Pratt's health began to give out. He reportedly gave the deed to the estate to 7 spiritualists, a sort of board of trustees, whose names have never been in any written documentation. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. He died just a few months later. His funeral was presided over by a man named Moses Hull, a former Seventh-day Adventist minister turned spiritualist whom Pratt had tapped to carry out his plans for the school. In his discourse, In his discourse, Mr. Hull gave the spiritualist idea of death and spiritual world. He claimed that death was neither to be dreaded nor feared. It's as natural as any other event in life. In fact, it is only a birth out of the physical body into the spiritual world. Hull carried out Pratt's wishes, and the doors of the Morris Pratt Institute opened the following year. The terrible loss of life in the Civil War that fueled America's interest in spiritualism had faded by the time the school opened, but there were still many who sought to learn the art of talking to the dead. students came from around the country to study general subjects like math, history, grammar, and literature, as well as the philosophy of spiritualism and psychic culture.
I love that you were still getting like a basic education too.
Yeah, it was like, it's stuff. Like when we talked about JFK Prep, like what an interesting school that was. Like that's kind of, you're still getting the basics. You're still getting history. You're still getting literature. You're still getting math, but you're also getting how to talk to dead people, which I think is so cool. Yeah. It had living quarters and facilities for up to 50 students, seeing as many as 45 at a time at its height from 1910 to 1915. That's a lot of people going there, actually, 45 students. The school was known at that time to the apprehensive Whitewater residents as the, quote, spook temple. Still,
sounds about right.
Yeah. Still, the curious public showed up when the doors opened every Sunday evening for seances or educational lectures like the 1924 program called, quote, Mediumship Explained. On the walls hung spiritualist spiritualist icons, memorials to the original...
Iconography?
Yes, thank you. Memorials to the original community, and artwork like the piece Fred L. Holmes described when he visited in the 1930s, saying, quote, a painting of a beautiful woman who, according to the medium, returned from the spirit world to speak for a moment to earthly loved ones and tarry long enough to be sketched. The third floor, however, was off limits to everyone except members of the spiritualist church. That space was a hallowed chamber where everything was painted white, a space, quote, not to be profaned by a non-believer, as an editor of a local newspaper once described it. He, too, had been denied access to the room. People in neighboring towns and the town itself whispered about the mysterious, quote, white room. Famous Chicago lawyer Clarence Darrow, known for his agnostic beliefs, once visited the Institute. Of his experience there, he later said he was, quote, unconvinced but mystified. Funding for the Morris Pratt Institute dried up. Funding for the Morris Pratt Institute dried up during the Depression, forcing the school to close its doors in 1932. It reopened a few years later, but to considerably fewer students than before. Interest in spiritualism had long since faded. The Institute sold the building in 1946. The new owners briefly opened it as a rest home for aged spiritualists, like a retirement home for spiritualists. Later, it was used as a girls' dormitory for the nearby Wisconsin Teachers College. How would you like to be in a dorm that used to be a... like
probably
this
a lot
place.
Of things going bump in the night.
Yeah, probably, and probably a lot of urban legends. It was torn down in 1961 and replaced by a new office for the Wisconsin Telephone Company on the corner of Center Street and Fremont. Recalling the paranormal history of the town, a 1981 issue of the University of Wisconsin Whitewater newspaper The Royal Purple wrote, quote, long-distance communication with the dead has been replaced now by long-distance calls to the living. But that wasn't the end of the Morris Pratt Institute. After selling the building in Whitewater, the school moved to Milwaukee, where it still exists today, remaining as one of the few places in the world dedicated to the study and practice of psychic phenomenon, such as telepathy, clairvoyance, mediumship, and psychic surgery. And I follow them on...
Psychic surgery?
Yeah, I follow them on Facebook.
What is psychic surgery?
Where I'm like, oh, you have a tumor in your arm. And
okay.
Then I lay you down, and I do this, and then I pull out this mass.
Okay.
It's there's a lot of fakery when it comes to that.
Sure. I have a story, though, when you're done with this. I have a story about healing that I want to bring up.
I follow this. I feel bad because I follow the Morris Pratt Institute on Facebook, but nobody likes their stuff. So I like all their stuff. So I'm just waiting for them to
reach out and be
and be like, hey, how would you like come to school here for a year? Which would be really cool.
That'd be really cool.
So
like you're at Hogwarts or something.
Yeah, exactly. So some of the course offerings there, according to their website, include clairsentience, psychometry, spirit photography, materialization and dematerialization, teleportation and apportation, the history of the human aura, levitation, out-of-the-body experiences. And graduates go on to serve in one of more than 90 churches and camps around the country that belong to the National Spiritualist Association.
I'd be really interested in the out-of-body experience one.
I know. I was toying with the idea of getting a T-shirt from their gift shop because they have like a web, their website has a gift shop. No matter how many years have passed since Pratt's spirit house was raised, Whitewater was forged from the earliest of its traditions and remains haunted by the superstitions of its practices. So the Morris Pratt Institute was a huge thing. I just think it's fascinating. So what's your story about healing?
So my dad, there was a story that he told. I would have to ask my mom for more details, but what I remember about it, and he told it when I was a kid throughout my childhood, and I remember even just a few years before he passed away, he told this story. But when he was a kid, he had warts all over his hands. And someone in his family, I don't remember who now, my mom would have to remind me, took him to see a Native American shaman. Who I don't recall the story having anything to do with them putting anything on his hands. I remember my dad describing him like doing almost like a ritual with chanting and saying words and moving his hands over my dad's hands. And within a few days, all the warts were gone.
Wow.
So I need to ask, did they put some kind of something on his hands, like
I'd
some
like to
kind
know
of substance?
If they put something
or
on
if
there.
it was just a ritual.
But, it's like for every 10 supposed psychics, I believe one or two of them genuinely are.
Yeah.
And for every psychic healer, I think there are some that can genuinely do it, but the majority are frauds.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, when I think about shamans too, that's like a tradition that's been passed around for generation upon generation upon generation. If there weren't something to it, it wouldn't keep getting passed down.
Exactly. So Whitewater today is so steeped in legends of ghosts and witchcraft that it has become to be known as the Second Salem. They have the Second Salem Brew Company there, which we were going to have lunch at, but it wasn't open.
That would have been so cool.
I love that it's called the Second Salem. At the center of the witch lore is an old water tower in Starren Park called the Witch's Tower. We visited there.
We did. I might, if you're watching, I might insert the little video I took of us walking past it.
From an October 17th, 2021 Royal Purple News article, which is the campus newspaper, which I took a copy of while we were there.
You did, yeah.
I've been reading it actually. From an October 17th, 2021 Royal Purple News article called, quote, "A Bewitching Trip Around Second Salem," the article says, quote, "The water tower located at the Starren Park is one of the oldest water towers in the area, and there are endless witchcraft stories that surround it."
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Except for the creepy doll.
Yeah, there was a weird doll.
Legends of the tower say that witches used to live there who would perform rituals on the site. The fences now there with their barbed wires were made to keep something sinister from getting out.
There's no barbed wire.
There's no barbed wire anymore, but
a beautiful wrought iron fence.
I don't know
though.
when it changed, but there used to be a barbed wire fence that was faced the way that the barbed wire was tipped. It was like they were trying to keep something from getting out of the tower rather than in the tower, and that's one of the reasons a lot of people believe witchcraft.
That's interesting because if you picture a prison fence, it is tilted that way.
Yeah, but then other people said that they talked to somebody who was there when they built it, and they accidentally put like a couple pieces the wrong way, and at that point they're like, "The heck with it, let's just put them all facing this way."
And that's what sparked a whole urban legend.
That's what it basically is. The fences with their barbed wire were made to keep something sinister from getting out. There was a story about a student from the school who is said to have found a VHS tape from a trailer nearby about the witch tower. They decided to climb over the fence of the witch's tower, climbed up the railings, and went inside through the tower window. The city Parks and Rec department went to check it out, opened the doors, and the student ran out to attack the official. They got the student down, but the student was confused about what was happening. While touring this exclusive tower, beware of windows and doors opening without warning. Extending the tower's power, there's also said to be an altar between the Witch's Tower and Nillian's Hall, which is where some spooky incidents continue to happen to this day. There's lots of talk about altars being around, but I did not see any altars when we were there. But the water tower is supposedly a huge paranormal spot. I know there's like traditions tied in with it. There's urban legends tied in with it. You and I visited it, and it was really pretty.
Yeah, I didn't get any vibe from it either. It was just really pretty.
No. And it's like right smack dab.
It was also the middle of a sunny day.
Yeah, and it's in the middle of campus. Like that park's like kind of in the middle of the campus. So it's not like it's off in the country somewhere where there's...
We could hear people playing tennis.
Yeah, everywhere we went, we could hear people. So, I mean,
Music,
it wasn't spooky. I think in the teaser for this, there's a picture of us standing by the tower.
Yes.
but we didn't get any spooky vibes by the tower. It was just weird that somebody threw a creepy doll. You'll hear that when you listen to the audio after the end music. You'll hear me be like, what is that on the stairs? And you're like, I think that's a doll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't get any spooky vibes by the water tower.
No.
But there are 3 cemeteries that
My
are
feet got
supposed
really
to be
wet, though.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's caused by a witchcraft or a ghost.
Yeah, definitely.
There are also 3 cemeteries that are said to be very haunted, and they said that if you connect the points between Calvary Cemetery, Oak Grove Cemetery, and Hillside Cemetery, they strangely form a triangle, which makes no sense to me because anytime you connect 3 things, it's not strange. That's geometry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like, how is that? But whatever.
Did they say a specific kind of triangle?
Isosceles.
Depending on where you're looking at the map, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But any 3 points is going to make a triangle.
That's how that works.
This is called the Witch's Triangle. Whitewater legend says that every building inside this triangle is haunted. The 3 cemeteries are all known for their paranormal occurrences. Calvary Cemetery. This is famous for Nellie Horan. We could not find her grave. And we couldn't find Morris Pratt's.
Look, we found a little fawn.
It was an
there,
epic
though.
fail. Oh my God, that little deer.
Fawn.
It was an
my
epic fail.
gosh.
We found none of these tombstones we were looking for. So Nellie Horan. The Horan family arrived in Whitewater from the nearby town of Koshkonong. Thank you. In 1880 with $5,000, equivalent to about $127,000 in today's money. They were described as being high-ranking members of the Whitewater community, but that wouldn't last long. Judith, the mother, died first in 1882. Her death was unexpected and described as having been in, quote, great agony, with symptoms acknowledged by physicians at the time as being consistent with poisoning. But there was no reason to suspect foul play, so no investigation was conducted. Joseph, the dad, died 6 weeks later. He fell ill suddenly and, quote, expired during terrible spasms and convulsions, as reported by the New York Times.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it does. They left their money to their 4 unmarried daughters, Gertrude, who didn't live in Whitewater, Anna, Nellie, and Agnes. As the youngest, Agnes was left with the largest sum. At Joseph's funeral, Agnes was said to be hysterical and threw herself upon her father's grave. Just over 2 months later, Agnes herself was dead at the age of 17. Her share of the inheritance passed on to her remaining sisters. You don't need CSI to make the connection of what's going on here,
My favorite is the outcome of this story.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
We were joking about this in the cemetery.
Yeah. Whitewater authorities began to think someone had it out for the Horan family, although they were unable to identify any suspects or motives. Motives are kind of clear.
Yeah.
For Anna and Nellie, life returned to some semblance of normality after that. Anna was a dressmaker, and Nellie worked as a typesetter for a local newspaper called The Register. There were no more mysterious deaths for a couple years. The residents of Whitewater forgot about the tragedy that had befallen the Horan family. Then, on November 30th, 1884, Anna suddenly fell ill. After a few days, Anna asked her business partner, Miss Wakeham, to send for her sister. When Nellie arrived, she gave Anna a dose of what was supposed to be opium powder. But after much suffering, Anna was dead just hours later on December 2nd, 1884. The coroner found strychnine in her stomach. The Milwaukee Daily Journal wrote on December 6th, quote, "It is believed that some person has been pursuing the family for years and that Miss Anna is the 4th victim. Who that person is, nobody pretends to say with enough facts to warrant an opinion. Officers are understood to be hard at work on the case, and should the chemist establish the girl was poisoned, some startling developments may be expected. The public is greatly mystified."
Really?
Yeah. Funeral preparations were underway when a young girl confessed to seeing Nellie buying strychnine at the drugstore a few days before Anna's death. The contents of Anna's stomach were sent to the specialist, Professor Bode, in Milwaukee for chemical analysis, who confirmed the presence of strychnine.
What was strychnine used for that you could just buy it at a store?
I don't know. I think you can still buy it for stuff.
Like rat poison or something?
Yes, I think for killing
Sounds
animals.
awful, by the way.
Nellie was soon charged with her sister's death. At her trial, Nellie said that she had just bought the poison to deal with the rats at the office of the Register.
Okay.
The New York Times wrote of her appearance in court, saying, quote, "Tall and graceful, she was intelligent and striking." The jury had such a difficult time believing that someone so beautiful could commit murder, and they deliberated a mere 12 minutes before acquitting her. So
she was hot.
She was hot. She was
So
too
she
hot.
got off.
She was too hot to be a killer.
Yeah, she couldn't kill anybody.
Yeah. No. Yeah, that's just insane to me.
So ridiculous.
The New York Times reported, quote, there was a great sensation in court. The accused girl shook hands with the judge, jury, and counsel and left for Whitewater with her sister and the young man to whom she was to have married.
If I were that other sister, I'd be like, keep your
yeah,
distance.
don't bring my cereal in the morning, please. And who stuck to her through the whole trial. Some papers falsely reported that, upon the discovery of strychnine in Anna's stomach, Nellie ingested the poison herself and confessed to murdering her family as well as an unknown fifth victim before she succumbed. In fact, after she was acquitted, Nellie married a man named John Burns. I hope he was good to her, because if you're not good to her, spasms and convulsions for you, and lived well into her 70s. She died of natural causes on October 23rd, 1938, and was buried in Calvary Cemetery in Whitewater next to her family.
Allegedly.
Her grave can be found in Whitewater's Calvary Cemetery.
I'm sure it's there.
I think it wasn't there that day when we were looking for it.
Maybe because remember the headstone.
we were like analyzing that picture of it to try to figure out what stones were around it.
And I swear there were only two of those cross markers.
Ones. Yep.
We could not find it. It wouldn't surprise me if it were constantly bringing people to that cemetery that they would remove the headstone.
So from a story from the University Center blog, quote, many people have reported drastic temperature decreases within the barbed wire fence of Calvary Cemetery and seen strange shadows moving around in the middle of the night.
It actually did have barbed wire, didn't it?
It did. So a story from the concertlivewire.com site called The History of Terror says, quote, my daughter, her dog Peyton, and I decided to investigate the dark grounds of the Calvary Cemetery in Whitewater. It is believed by many that dogs sense the paranormal before humans do. As we approached the lone gate, which it took us a while to find because we walked all around the cemetery.
We had to drive around and up a hill, and it's not an easy thing to find. Oh my gosh.
As we approached the lone gate, we noticed the foreboding barbed wire atop the chain link fence that encircled the cemetery. Another interesting inhabitant here is Nellie Horan, a young woman who was accused of poisoning her sister but acquitted in 1885. The remains of a baby girl were said to have been dug up from these grounds and left on the steps of the university's student center. Some say it was an anti-war protest, while others say that it was something far more sinister. As we entered the cemetery, the legend started catching up with us. The gray sky suddenly appeared bleaker, the wind colder, and ordinary sounds became unfriendly.
Okay.
The thought of a UW Whitewater student who had supposedly committed suicide by hanging himself there last year also weighed heavily in our thoughts. As we parked the car at the end of the cemetery, we walked about 10 feet, and our dog started to violently bark. My daughter and I looked at each other in amazement as the barks intensified. There was nothing we could see that would prompt this behavior. No people, no animals, but he fixed his attention on one spot and barked with fury for more than 30 seconds, seeing something that we couldn't. Peyton calmed down after we hurriedly moved on. It wasn't until later, when researching for the story, that I found out that a student had died in that northeast corner of the cemetery. The dog's unusual behavior occurred in the same corner where we started our venture. So I don't think that was the northeast. Like, I wanted to go to that corner, but that's where that baby deer was trapped in the corner. So then we didn't want to go any closer because
it kept trying to jump.
And we didn't want to jump through the barbed wire, and it was bound. It was like hitting against the fence.
So we walked the whole other way.
So we
did move eventually, and you did walk into that corner.
I tried for EVP.
I was all worried about ticks.
Yeah, you were super worried about ticks.
Grass.
But there was nothing. The corner was a little weird, but. I don't know if that's the exact corner that the person killed themselves in.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like these people just totally psyched themselves out, too.
Yeah, and when you're, like, when we're walking through the cemetery, you can hear the tennis team practicing.
And music
blaring, and I'm like, okay, this is
creepy.
not scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other cemeteries is the Hillside Cemetery. This cemetery...
Is that the really big one that
we just drove around in. The cemetery, built on a few small rolling hills, they weren't small. Some of those hills were crazy.
Yeah.
Welcomes you through a grand limestone archway.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Cemetery.
As you meander the paved roads through the cemetery, the main road begins to disappear from view. You may find yourself immersed in peace among the stillness of those who've passed, or you may catch a glimpse of the ghost of supposed witch Mary Worth, whose mausoleum resides at the highest point of the cemetery, which we could not find. Legend says that Mary Worth...
We're terrible at this.
Yeah, we suck at this. Legend says that Mary Worth was an axe-murdering witch who not only cursed the town when she was executed for her crimes, but she may have been the inspiration for certain Bloody Mary legends. Her ghost is said to be seen wandering among the tombstones on Halloween.
Sure.
Other notable interments there include Sarah Posey, who may be haunting the Hamilton house, as well as Edward Shoddy, the unfortunate husband of the, quote, poison widow, Myrtle Shoddy, a lot of poisoning,
Yeah.
and even Morris Pratt himself.
Did we drive by the Hamilton house then?
Yeah.
Okay.
For a man who dedicated his life to communication from beyond the grave, however, Pratt's grave is surprisingly quiet. So nothing really going on there. Oak Grove Cemetery is the third one. We couldn't even get into that one.
No,
Barbed
it's like
wire. Yeah, we could not even. Completely shut off.
I think there was a sign that said something like it's no longer open to the public.
But if you have family there, I don't understand how they can.
I don't understand either. Unless you have to request like an appointment to go in.
Possibly. But. According to legend, a coven of witches used to conduct rituals and ritual sacrifices in the 19th century, and they had an altar in the cemetery.
I'm just so skeptical of all of it.
I know. Those who conducted the sacrifices, local lore says, were buried standing up in the cemetery around their altar. Residents talk of seeing things moving around.
Something really creepy
There's
about
something
that.
really creepy. Being buried standing up
That's weird.
Is weird to me. Residents talk of seeing things moving around in the cemetery at night and hearing strange sounds. You can join in the annual October Ghost Tour in Whitewater, which takes participants inside many of these typically closed locations, such as the Witch's Tower, Mary Worth's Crypt, and Oak Grove Cemetery.
That sounds fun, actually.
You and Jim should go there.
I kind of want to go back with him now.
You should. You seriously should.
Eat at the Second Salem Brew Pub.
You guys do that. Another big part of Whitewater lore, we did not ask to look at this, is
the book.
The Cursed Book. Local legend says the Anderson Library on the University of Whitewater campus is home to an evil book that has driven 4 people to suicide and countless others insane after reading it. The book is believed to be connected to the witches of Whitewater and is said to be so dangerous that the library had to lock it away in the basement. So, we'll get into this after this section. The book in question is a large antique hymnal written in Latin that was donated to the library after a local church closed its doors. It is available to view upon request. From a Royal Purple News article called, quote, Witches of Whitewater, The Truth Behind the Legend, the article says, what many people find intriguing is a story about a locked book in the special collections section of the basement of the Anderson Library. Rumors say that the dark contents of the book have driven 3 students and a professor to kill themselves. According to legend, one person who borrowed the book was locked in a mental institution. Because of this, the book is hidden under lock and key at the Anderson Library. If you ask to see the book, you'll be kicked out, or so they say.
I'm glad we didn't try that.
Yeah, Karen Weston, a UW Whitewater's archivist of 27 years, says, quote, the only locked book we own is actually a Catholic hymnal. We think the stories about it come from the fact that up until 1989, 100 years after the Morris Pratt Institute was founded, the storage we used for the book was a locked cage because it was the only storage unit we had. A locked book in special collections got this image of being dangerous. However, none of the people that have ever talked about this Catholic hymnal have given us a publisher, a title, an author, nothing. It is unknown if the mysterious book remains unlabeled for a reason or if it's just a coincidence. Concert Livewire site says, quote, the story of the witch's book makes the tale of Whitewater even creepier. It said if you read this book, it would result in a nasty death by suicide or you would go completely insane. Deronica Goldsmith, archive assistant for the Anderson Library, said, quote, this witch's book doesn't exist at all, and as far as I know, there never were witches even here in Whitewater. A reliable source who was once a library assistant at the Anderson Library says that as part of the hiring process, they are instructed to deny the existence of the witch's book. So it's like conspiracy people think that there is an actual book, and they keep this hymnal to say that that's the book if somebody really wants to see it. But they said that they are also hiding the actual cursed book.
I feel like it's more likely that this is just an urban legend based off of that locked cage.
Yes, I totally get that. Like if that's the only place they had to put the book and it was in a locked case, people are going to be like, why is that ancient Latin? You know, it's like the book from the Evil Dead. So we talked about going in there and asking if we could see the book, but we don't know how they would take to us doing that.
Yeah, so we're not students.
Yeah, so we're like, no, we'll skip that. So other haunted places around Whitewater, tunnels under the city. According to Reddit, the tunnels are real, but I think they're more likely there because of bootleggers coming up from Chicago instead of actually being part of the Underground Railroad. Historians put forward 3 potential theories: bootleggers, Underground Railroad, and upper-class members of society wanting to move around unseen.
I didn't know the Underground Railroad came through
That's
Wisconsin.
there's a lot of disagreement about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the Fond du Lac, the Octagon House, it was supposed to be is supposed to have tunnels because of the Underground Railroad,
Allegedly,
but people say
where Jim works, too.
yeah. So I don't know. There's the Winchester House.
Oh no, is that the house we drove by? No,
I think the Hamilton House is the one we drove by. The
it's
Winchester
for
House
sale or something too.
The Winchester House says, quote, chaos and mayhem erupt behind closed doors of what is now the Tincher Realty Office, formerly the home of
Reality.
Realty.
It's what?
It's a reality office.
It's
Realty.
Okay.
Formerly the home of Lucius Winchester. Lucius, who was cursed by the supposed witch Mary Worth, now haunts the building in anger.
Not the Winchester curse?
Not the Winchester curse, the Mary Worth curse. Take a drive by the house late at night and see if you can catch a strange flicker of lights or the ghost of Lucius walk past a window. Then there's the Hamilton House. Discover Whitewater, the Ghosts of Hamilton House Bed and Breakfast says, quote, in the late 1800s, the Van Giesen/Posey family purchased the house. Sarah Posey, daughter of Van Giesen, taught art lessons out of the home and even inlaid a few hand-painted tiles into the woodwork of the grand staircase while her father tiled the facing of the fireplace in the dining room, including 2 tiles in the upper corner that featured the faces of Sarah and her son, Little Boy Posey. Little Boy Posey. Legend has it that Sarah and her son were very happy, but Sarah's husband, Oliver, wanted to get rich quick. Only a handful of years later, the family sold the home, took off to California, and no one saw them ever back in Whitewater again. The house suffered under new owner after new owner throughout the early 1900s, and in the 1950s it fell into disrepair. It was really pretty. We drove past it.
Yeah, it was really pretty.
Walls and flooring needed redoing, and they noted that the tile of Little Boy Posey's portrait was missing from the fireplace. Every resident of the house reported seeing a woman in her nightgown out in the east garden. When the house became a fraternity in the 60s and 70s, students frequently saw a little boy at the foot of their beds in the middle of the night. They described him as an annoying kid who acted like a little brother that needed attention. His favorite room was his mother's at the top of the stairs, today called the deluxe room, the Passaro. Little Boy Posey's constant presence disturbed one man so much that he never stepped foot in the Hamilton house again. After the fraternity shut down, the owners turned the back hallway into a doll museum, because that's not creepy. They constantly found dolls moved around, placed on chairs, and on the floor in the middle of the hallway.
Nope.
They guessed it was the Little Boy Posey trying to get their attention. Once the house finally underwent major renovations, they suddenly found the missing tile of the son's face out in the east garden where Sarah always stood. After they returned it to the fireplace, they never saw both ghosts again. Former owner Kathleen Fleming met with distant relatives of the Poseys. They shared the stories of ghosts and learned more about the family history. Many believe Little Boy Posey died of smallpox and Sarah died of heartache. They actually both lived long lives and died in old age. Mm. After they passed, their bodies were returned to Whitewater and buried in Hillside Cemetery. Kathleen believes that their ghosts returned to the place where their life was the happiest. When the house served as a UW Whitewater fraternity, the ghost of the young boy was known to bother students in the middle of the night, and guests could hear humming and items seemed to move on their own. Now it's a bed and breakfast. Kind of like to stay there.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Wells Hall from UW Whitewater.
Mm-hmm.
In 1981, a group of sorority sisters heard strange noises coming from the building's basement. Upon entering the basement, it was discovered that bricks had been removed from the floor, revealing a hidden tunnel. It has been said that the tunnel was part of an underground system which allowed witches to move around the town without being spotted by mortals. And pretty much all of UW Whitewater is said to be haunted. It's pretty crazy. So this is from the Royal Purple newspaper from an article called Paranormal Team Plagues Whitewater Triangle. Sam Azzaro, Jr. at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, is the leader of the 2nd Salem Paranormal Investigation Team.
Such a great name.
I know, who searches through paranormal sites that hold various legends and myth. On the UW Whitewater campus, paranormal occurrences have been encountered in the residence hall by students, including Azzaro and Vice President of 2nd Salem Paranormal Investigation Team, Libby Huggett.
Vice president.
Azaro says, quote, so with the residence halls here at UW Whitewater, there have been sightings of a little girl dressed in white. She supposedly goes around through each building. She's been sighted in quite a lot of the older ones, such as Clem, Bigelow, Lee, Wells, Nillens, and Wellers. A lot of giggling and running up and down the stairs and into the rooms has been claimed by a lot of students here, even myself. Huggett said, quote, my first year here, I lived in Wells East on the 7th floor, and I would always feel creeped out walking through the hall by myself. On the day of Family Fest, I was in my room watching TV with the door open. Most people were at the football game or gone for the weekend. I was facing away from the door, and I heard a little girl giggling in the hallway. I poked my head out and didn't see anybody. I poked my head into the bathroom in the other wing, and there was nothing. I went back to my room, sat down, and I heard the little girl giggle again. According to a number of students and staff, late at night, you can hear hammering coming from the metals room. Chairs move around constantly in various classrooms, and a ghost is said to roam the backstage of the Young Auditorium. And in the basement, elevators descend from upstairs and open as you're passing by. So a lot of stuff at the campus, supposedly. Interested if any of my cousins ever experienced anything weird there. Mm-hmm. You never did.
No.
You weren't in the hall. You weren't in the dorms.
Nope.
You lived
I've been in the dorms, but I did not live in the dorms.
And lastly, Whitewater Lake, which we did not visit. Mm-mm. A few miles south of the city is Whitewater Lake, where fishermen in 1923 claimed a large creature with tentacles overturned their boat and dragged them under. They fought against it and eventually broke free, but found themselves covered in small bite marks. Residents of Whitewater Lake also tell the story of a series of strange events that happened over the summer of 1944. To make these stop, men from the area gathered at a small local cemetery where they are said to have dug up all of the coffins there that had been buried vertically in the ground, bringing the coffins back to the lake, weighing them down with rocks, and throwing them in. So they apparently dug up the ones that were standing up in their coffins and threw them in the lake. This put an end to whatever strange occurrences had been plaguing those who lived on the lake. Decades later, in 1992, 3 Whitewater students who were renting a house on the lake stumbled upon a late-night ritual being performed on the beach by 4 men dressed in strange black clothes. They were chanting and swaying. At first, the students just thought the men were drunk, but then a thick fog rolled in from the lake and a green light glowed through it. One of the students says, quote, we heard the water start splashing and this deep gurgling noise. We all just looked at each other, but then we heard this weird slurping sound and saw something come out of the water, and we ran like hell. Another resident also witnessed the incident and called the police. They weren't able to respond right away, but by the time they arrived, the group was gone. On the beach, however, they found the remains of the ritual, small bones and rocks arranged in a strange pattern on the sand. Cult activity was suspected, which had also been prevalent in an area just a few miles away where the Beast of Bray Road was said to be terrorizing residents of the Elkhorn community around the same time. So, to end this section, did experiments to pierce the veil and reveal the mysteries of the spirit world inside Pratt's restricted inner sanctum open doors for sinister energies to take hold in Whitewater? Or is it that the town's unusual history, as it is whispered around the UW campus every year, is filled with just enough mystery that our imaginations can't resist filling in the blanks? How much communication, if any, the students managed to experience between the spiritual world and themselves is unknown, the Whitewater Register wrote in 1972. We can be certain, however, that legends surrounding the Pratt Institute will be alive in Whitewater for many years to come. So what do you think? What do you think of what? Like, I
feel like a lot of it is just urban legend.
Yeah, so many colleges are just filled with urban legends. The cemetery stuff, I don't know. Like the triangle thing is just like whatever. Like every building in that triangle is supposed to be haunted. It was a super peaceful day when we're there. So if it had been like stormy and we were in the cemetery, it probably would have been different.
Yeah, it was beautiful that day.
But it was seriously like just a gorgeous day. The cemetery, like the first cemetery we visited at least, was directly on campus. So there's people constantly around you. And it's just, I didn't get any creepy vibes there whatsoever. I really didn't.
Anywhere.
No, I thought it was really peaceful. I love the Morris Pratt Institute stuff. Like I'm super fascinated with the idea of going to the Morris Pratt Institute and studying teleportation and what all this really stuff is. You know, and like I said, I follow them on Facebook. I've looked at their website. You know, if things were different and I was younger, I would consider, and if I was rich, I would consider going there maybe for a semester.
It was a fun, nostalgic trip down memory lane.
It was so cool seeing the apartment where.
Yeah, we found the apartments where I was living when Jim and his two friends, Mike and Adam, moved upstairs, and that's how we met.
I saw the.
We could even drive around, and I took a picture of the balconies that were our balconies. And then we had lunch at Jessica's, which is a diner that we had gone to when we lived there.
It was really good too.
Yeah, the food was really good. And
thank you, subscribers.
Too.
Thank you, subscribers, for paying for our outing
lunch,
that day,
our
lunch, our nifty Whitewater t-shirts.
Yeah, it was fun visiting like the student store.
The student store.
We took a walk through campus and found this really pretty garden.
Yeah, like I love college campuses.
I do too.
I dream about them all the time. Like I am at home on a college campus, which is weird because I never lived on a college campus. When I went to UW Green Bay, I drove home back and forth every day.
Yeah, my 2 years of college were up in Marinette. It's like a UW center, so there were no dorms. So I lived in an apartment with a friend. So I've never had the dorm experience.
No,
and I kind of regret that.
I do too. I regret never having the dorm, like especially watching Felicity. Like I regret the college stuff where
I was very involved when I was up in Marinette, but it was a very small school.
Yeah,
and I regret not being more involved when I went to Whitewater.
Yep,
because I feel like I missed out on a lot of those quintessential college experiences.
Yeah, like I do too because.
And I didn't graduate from there. My degree is from UW Milwaukee. Actually.
You know, like being a lit major, I was tight with the literature people, and they would try to get me to come and participate in stuff like Feast of Fools when we had Feast of Fools, and like little plays and stuff like that, and I never did, and that sucks because I wish I would have, you know, back when I was younger and had energy and all that stuff. But I, to this day, like my friend Angie and I'll go because she went there too. We'll go up to UWGB and just being on the campus, seeing a couch where I used to lay and read all the time. You know, like
such good memories.
Yeah, like I love college campuses.
Something so bittersweet about it, though.
Yeah, especially when you're older and go there, it's like ugh. But like when we at the end of the day we walked through the campus and it was just so cool.
Yeah, it was.
It really
nice.
was. But college is different than it was when I went there. You know, now half your stuff is online and And back in the day,
well, and everything looks so different to me. There's so many new buildings.
Yeah.
That I don't remember being there, and it was in the middle of summer, so there weren't a lot of students.
There were some students. We saw some students,
but yeah, it would have been a different experience to be there in like September or October and I love a college campus in the fall. There's
nothing better than a college campus in the fall.
I agree.
Leaves falling.
Yes.
People walking around in sweatshirts.
Yep.
You're making me super nostalgic.
It makes me think of Gilmore Girls actually when she goes to Yale.
I'm excited to watch that.
Well, we need to talk about the drive home.
Yeah, because that was weird.
Something really weird happened.
Yeah, you talk about that. I wasn't sleeping.
No, we were awake and talking.
We
were talking, actively talking.
Yeah. So you talk about that because you.
So there's a certain way that we took there and a certain way that
we blame the Fae for this.
Yeah,
because
I'm not
we had
sure.
been talking about the Fae.
We were. And on the way home, we were heading north on. I'm not going to describe highways and stuff because I don't want to point to where I live or anything. But we were on a certain route that I've taken.
If you want her address, message me. For $10, I will give you her address.
Wow, $10.
Times are tough.
You could probably get like 50 or 100.
I could get 2 $5 meals from McDonald's for that.
Oh man. It's a route I've taken many times. I had recently been that way for a trip that I took for work.
When we used to go to Stoughton, we used to go that way all the time.
Yeah.
And Aaron and I have taken that geocaching, so I even know that, probably not as well as you, but I know that little area.
Well, and it's actually a big city that you come into and a major exit. Like it is, you cannot miss this exit because it's so big. It's a hugely populated area with all kinds of stores, restaurants, gas stations. I mean, you cannot miss this exit. And we're driving along, and all of a sudden, I noticed that the highway it went from 4 lanes to 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? How? I don't understand. Like, is this some kind of weird detour that I missed or whatever? And I looked at the map, and we had missed the exit.
Yeah.
We were like way north of it.
Yeah.
By a lake that we shouldn't be by.
No.
And I'm like, I don't
remember.
I don't understand.
I
how
don't
that
remember
happened.
seeing that exit. I don't remember. I don't remember much from that.
I'm convinced we didn't drive by it.
Yeah, I don't remember much from that little moment. And then we were joking about having missing time and that we got abducted.
It's so weird because when I got home, I opened the map again and I was like, is there any way that I could have accidentally merged onto the wrong road and taken something that like bypasses that, and there's not.
And how would both of us?
Just that highway, and then it narrows down to I don't know. I still can't wrap my head around it.
No, I can't.
I was
either.
driving. We were awake.
It was creepy.
We
it was
were obviously awake.
It's a little
talking.
creepy.
Yeah, it really weirded us out because I can't explain it.
No, I can't either. That we both missed this, and all of a sudden, we were on the major highway at one point, and all of a sudden we weren't.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Very bizarre.
We don't know what happened. But it was weird. That was the weirdest part of that day.
It really was.
Nothing in Whitewater, but
yeah.
the drive home was weird.
Very.
Cool. So that's
we made it.
We did.
We made it home at least.
That's it for Whitewater.
Maybe we're in some weird bizarro world right now and we don't know.
Yeah, maybe we came to it like a Mandela effect world. I don't know.
Or we're in another dimension.
Maybe that dimension is still looking for us. Like we never came back, which is weird.
Ew.
I loved Whitewater, just absolutely loved it, but I love college towns.
Yeah.
I especially love little, tiny, quaint college towns, and that's what this was. And I didn't get any spooky vibes whatsoever.
No, neither.
I don't think the water tower is a haven for witchcraft. There's probably like kooks that do like weird rituals and stuff, but
just because of the legend.
Just because of the legends,
yeah.
But other than that, nope. Loved Whitewater. It was awesome being there.
Yeah.
Next.
Flannel Man.
Flannel Man. And I did not know this was a thing.
Neither did I.
When I went
Maybe this will be our thing.
No, possibly. When I went
Considering your story.
Yeah.
And the fact that you love wearing, well, that's not flannel, but.
Yep. When I went on Brian Young's podcast, Transatlantic History Ramblings, I always go on when Tim is on, Tim Schwartz, and he's just amazing guy. Like basically now I get schooled by him when I'm on there because he knows what he's talking about.
You're
and
the noob.
I don't. I'm the noob. But he wanted to know the story about what happened in my old apartment. And when I talked about seeing the old guy dude, whatever it was, crawl out of the bathroom,
creepy story.
It had a flannel shirt on. And when I said that, Tim's like, you realize the Flannel Man's a thing. And I had never heard of it. And once I started looking it up, I'm like, oh my God.
Does that surprise us that neither of us had ever heard of this?
Especially me loving flannel.
Right.
And no, I had never heard. But then I looked it up and there's a lot of stories. So from Reddit, somebody writes, so roughly 18 years ago, I had an experience with the paranormal and it's stuck in my mind ever since. Recently, I was looking for answers when I stumbled upon a description that blew me away. It was nearly exactly what I experienced. They call it the Flannel Man. I had posted my story on here a few different times in different subreddits over the years before I heard of this name, and I've been telling the story the same since I was 11, so there's no chance that I heard this description and made my story match. The Flannel Man is discussed multiple times on a paranormal site, and I've gotten a few accounts from others myself who've said that they've seen him. So I'm here wondering, has anyone else had experiences with this creature that they would like to share? And then she goes on to say, here's my experience. I was about 11 and home alone one night. Brief description of my relevant home layout. At the top of the stairs, there is a hallway to the right, and the left side of the hallway is the computer room. Directly across from that on the right side is the bathroom, and at the end of the hallway was my parents' room. The hallway light was on, but I had all the other lights in the house off. I was in the computer room talking on the phone with my friend. I was leaning against the far window. This was back in the day when you had to be rotary phone. Like you had to be connected.
You were attached to the wall.
You're attached to the wall. I was in the computer room talking on the phone with my friend. I was leaning against the far window, just mindlessly staring out while I talked on the phone, and I could see the reflection of the lighted hallway behind me in the window. Suddenly, I'm
already creeped out.
Suddenly, I see a man walk down the hallway from my parents' room and past the room I was in. He was in a bright red flannel button-down shirt, long sleeve, the kind with the black lines going through it, your typical red flannel.
Like the Brawny Man?
Yes, like the Brawny Man. He appeared to have blue jeans on. Clear as day I saw this, color and all. The only thing I didn't really see were facial features. It was like he had the outline of a face, but no discernible facial features. He did, however, have hair. The color was like a lightish red-brown. I would describe it as maybe chestnut. And he had a well-kept beard of the same color.
Literally describing the Brawny Man.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe a 1/4 inch thick. It wasn't long, but pretty close against his face. I saw this and screamed and immediately hung up the phone. My dog, a big German short-haired pointer, was in the room with me. I decided to take him and run across the hallway into the bathroom and lock us in it. When I got to the threshold of the hallway, my dog dug his paws in and would not move any further. He started growling at the hallway and had his hair all the way up. I started crying. I did a big yank on his collar and he ended up running into the bathroom ahead of me. I locked us in and called my friend back crying and explained everything.
Well, then it must not be a rotary or whatever, landline.
Oh, maybe that was it. Maybe it was
Yeah.
a mobile phone.
Really long cord,
I was
maybe?
I was completely alone in my house. My parents never came back early, and I checked my stepdad's closet later and confirmed that he doesn't even own a red flannel. All these years I thought it was a ghost of someone who lived there, but now that I found other accounts of the Flannel Man, I'm doubting that. Here are some similarities in other cases that I've looked at or heard directly from other people. Always a man in a red flannel shirt, sometimes
red.
blue. Mine
Oh,
was blue.
sometimes. Yours
Yeah,
was
mine
blue,
was
yeah.
blue. Always wearing blue jeans when people notice the pants. Usually wearing boots, like steel-toed boots, when people notice the shoes. I didn't notice shoes. Usually has a short beard. Hair is usually, like mine isn't this. Like mine had white, stringy hair, was looking down, so I never saw his face. It didn't have shoes on. I think it was barefoot. So
Jeans?
I don't
You don't
remember.
know?
Hair is usually brown. Almost always appears in hallways or doorways, sometimes lingering by the door, sometimes walking past. Usually has a look like it's searching for something. I can't really describe it myself. Like I said, no real facial features besides the hair or beard, but he just seemed determined, like he was headed somewhere. Many people report time slowing down. That's certainly how it felt to me, like I was seeing him walk by in slow motion. Most people only see him once and never again, and most people see him when they are young. Some people report black or red eyes. Some people report a smell of shoe polish or leather. And many people see him when they are half asleep and look towards a door or hallway. I was fully awake and on the phone. If you've seen Flannel Man, please share. I find this so fascinating. Before I even heard the term, I contacted my old friend and asked her if she remembered that night, and she said she did, and I asked her what details she remembered me telling her on the phone. She didn't remember much, but she hit the key details. Ghostly man in a red shirt was in my home, dog was freaked out, and I called her back from the bathroom. I just can't believe that after all these years, I have a name for what I encountered. So from birdiemagazine.com, not sure what Birdie Magazine is. Anecdotal evidence places the Flannel Man largely in the realm of dreams, typically in conjunction with what?
Sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis. As probably guessed, he wears a red buffalo plaid design shirt, and more often than not, the entity also carries an axe or a hatchet, which is creepy. I don't want to see that. He supposedly enters...
He's like a lumberjack.
Yeah, like a lumberjack. He supposedly enters dreams accompanied by a black dog, or as one tale said, holding the leash of a giant two-headed wolf. Some accounts record experiencing extreme dread, but most just find him a benign yet bizarre guest. One Reddit user wrote about seeing him with a destroyed face, whispering through shredded skin and jagged broken teeth. That's creepy. Nearly all who dream of the Flannel Man awake to find themselves trapped, motionless, the ghoulish axeman standing at the foot of the bed or lurking in the corner of the room just before vanishing. Some people even have claimed to encounter the Flannel Man in waking hours. There's a story told by someone who saw the Flannel Man at a downtown intersection on top of a black horse, completely still in the afternoon breeze and unfazed by passerby or traffic.
So I saw a figure of a man in a doorway when I was having a sleep paralysis episode, but it was just a shadow.
Okay.
I didn't see any details. There was no flannel shirt.
Okay.
It is a common thing, though.
Oh, yeah, it's totally a common thing. And then somebody responded saying, okay, during Christmas, my mom said someone kept knocking on her bedroom door in her house.
Nope.
The first knock woke her up.
Knocking is really creepy to me.
Yeah, there is. There is. Would you rather have it push the door open or just have it like
the knocking is actually
especially when there's nobody
creepier.
else there? Yeah.
There's something about it that's like, come let me in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like knocking on the outside of your
knocks.
house.
Yeah.
Blah.
During Christmas, my mom said someone kept knocking at her bedroom door in the house. The first knock woke her up. The second
I
knock
would die.
The second knock, she looked through the now cracked door and said she saw someone in a red flannel shirt standing outside the door and swaying.
Oh my God.
No one owns a red flannel shirt in my house. Shortly before that, maybe a month or so, my 2-year-old daughter saw something outside. She looked at me, then looked back into the yard, then back at me, and ran off into the house and tried to close the door on me like she was trying to get away from something.
You're on your own, Mom.
Seriously, what could she have seen? When I rushed in with her, I felt tense and unease on my back all the way upstairs to her room. I ended up turning around and yelling, "Get out of my house," because I believe that children can see these things better than adults.
I agree.
Since these two situations, I have seen a short, hunched shadow walk up my stairs. I hear footprints walk to the top of the stairs as if they are going to descend down the stairs, but they don't. I have had someone standing behind me. Thinking it was my 6-foot tall kid, I turned around and said, "Get out from behind me," but no one was there. My husband just makes fun of me. I'm not scared or anything, but I think whatever this is male. I recently learned my daughter knows what monsters are and she gets freaked out if you mention them, so I've been teaching her to yell, "Get out, monster." It's weird. Sometimes I see her look behind me or across the room and then tense up. I turn to see what's there, but nothing is there. Should I buy some sage and burn it around the house, or is that just some BS that people do? Somebody else writes, I have an experience to relate to this, and I hope this is the right place. Several years ago, my daughter and I were alone in my house. I slept upstairs, she slept downstairs. My room took up the entire top floor of the house with only one way up and down. My room was illuminated by streetlights from the corner that shone into the room. I had those pleated shades that were popular in the early 2000s. I liked them because they were very private, but still let in a lot of light. My daughter's room was close enough to the stairwell that if I called down to her, she could hear me. The house wasn't that big. Her bedroom was a little darker, but was illuminated by the fish tank she used as a headboard for her bed. It was wintertime in Florida, cool but not cold. It was not raining, there was no fog. It was just a routine night. My daughter went to bed a little before I did, but we were both asleep by 11 p.m. I had to work the next day, but I can't remember now if she had school or not. She was in college at the time. Sometime around 2 a.m., I woke up.
Wait, is this the same? Are we on a different story now?
This is a different story.
Okay.
Sometime around 2 a.m., I woke up. Not just awoken, but jolted out of sleep. Almost like I heard a loud noise or something, but only awakened after the noise was over. I was completely tense, like I was waiting for something. I listen, and there is nothing, but I'm still now straining to hear. Suddenly, I sit up. I bolt upright, and there he is. It's a man, about 5'8", wearing a red plaid shirt, tucked in, blue jeans, and heavy dark shoes or boots.
It's weird that he's short.
Yep. He's standing about 8 feet away from the end of the bed, grinning at me. His arms are at his side, and I can feel like I see him breathing. He's just grinning this weird grin and staring at me.
Yuck.
I completely lose it. I scream, and he just stands there grinning. I must have closed my eyes because when I open them, he's no longer there. That's when I hear my daughter screaming, "Mom, Mom." My first thought is that this guy has run down and now he's in her room downstairs, but it was only seconds between her calling out to me and me seeing this guy. There was no way for him to get down the stairs that fast. Then I hear her yell up, "Mom, there was a man in my bedroom." I jump out of bed and start running down the stairs. My daughter is still calling out for me, and I'm thinking this guy or guys are up in her bedroom or somewhere in the house. I reach her bedroom and she's upright in bed. There's no one in the room. There's no way past me, and the stairwell is empty. The glass doors are all still closed. I say, "Which way did he go?" "I don't know," she cries. Now I think whatever this is, it's so fast. I run down the hallway towards the living room, kitchen, dining room, and front door. I turn all the lights on as I go, thinking I'll find this person and flush them out. But as fast as I'm moving, there's nothing and no one there. I reach the front door to check to see if it's unlocked. Nope, still locked. Check all the windows, garage door, everything is locked and closed. This only leaves the sliding glass door in my daughter's bedroom. I'm running back to her bedroom thinking that maybe something is in her closet or under the bed. Finally, I sit on the bed and hold her and ask what he looked like. She said he was wearing jeans and a plaid shirt and was smiling at her. I tell her what I saw, and now we're both wondering what the hell just happened. She told me she was already awake. She had just sat up and was looking at her guy when she heard me scream. It was like we saw two men at the same time wearing the same thing, grinning at us. It was this weird, too wide, fake grin, menacing and cold. I hadn't heard her screams because I was so freaked out, and I was screaming at the same time. It wasn't until I closed my eyes or looked away, I really don't know which, that my grinning man disappeared. We don't know what it was. Whatever it was disappeared, and we haven't seen it since. I don't know if anyone has anything like this happen to them, but if you have, I would appreciate hearing from you. Thanks for reading this far.
So far, these have been all females.
Yeah. And then somebody else writes, "There is this ghost dude that I call the man in the red plaid shirt. I've seen him since I was little. According to my parents, I've always described him the same way. He has black hair that's parted to the side, a small curl falling into his face. He leaves the top two buttons of his shirt unbuttoned and rolls up the sleeves. He has very dark jeans and work boots. He's maybe 5'8" to 5'10", slim to medium build. Every time I see him, he's leaning with one arm up against a tree. I feel like I know him, but I don't think I've ever seen him in old family photos, and no one else recognizes the description I give. My mom says that I've seen this man since I've been about 2 years old, and each time I see him, it's the same exact description, no matter where or when. Recently, I found out that my niece now sees him. I'm trying to sort out the who, what, why questions." Somebody replied to this saying, "I've seen this flannel man only one time when I was about 7 years old. I woke up and he was in my room standing on a chair. We made eye contact and he slowly looked at the globe on top of my shelves, pointed at it, looked back at me and nodded one time as if I should know what he meant. That's creepy. That's creepy and weird. That's like Twin Peaks. That's like something from Twin Peaks. Somebody else responds, it's a couple years late, but I saw it in the 70s standing in my bedroom doorway about 2 feet from the head of my bed. It scared the crap out of me. I hid under the covers for minutes and peeked out only to find him still standing there. I did this several times before I decided to jump out of bed on the opposite side and run around the end of the bed and run through him full speed into the hall, into my parents' room. He was gone when Dad brought me back. He said that he prayed God would send angels to protect us in our sleep, so I let it go at that. 25 years later, my daughter wakes up my wife and says there's a man standing in the bathroom doorway in our room. He was wearing red and black flannel and was smiling at her. I never told her about my experience. Then I find out that my dad has also seen it within the last few years. I really don't get it. I know that your brain can play crazy tricks on you, but to see a lumberjack or whatever people call the Flannel Man is crazy. I mean, did they run out of white dresses or period clothing or something?
White dresses, I love that.
But it's not a ghost story I shared growing up, because what kind of ghost wears flannel?
Okay, so it's not just females.
No.
What's interesting is that, okay, a lot of people have seen the Hat Man, but their descriptions are always just a little different. Yeah, he's always got a hat on, a top hat usually, but sometimes it's a different hat.
Yeah.
They're all describing something the same height, with the same hair, the same facial hair, the same shirt, the same work boots. That's kind of weird.
I was on Brian Young's podcast this past week with Tim, and we were talking about the djinn.
Djinn, yeah.
And I said, it's so frustrating to me. Like Brian's question to Tim was, what differentiates djinn visitations as opposed to mimics or shadow men or men in black? And I said what's frustrating is that they're all like the same, like mimics, doppelgangers. The fae and the djinn have so many similarities. It's like, like there's the theory that this is just one thing that's taking all these different forms and messes with us. Yeah.
Aren't the djinn like it's an
Islamic?
It's I was gonna say it's like Middle Eastern.
Yeah, like the djinn is interesting. We have to have an episode about them. Like the djinn were God's first creation, but then God created humans and liked us better, so then He kind of kicked the djinn to the side, and that's why the djinn don't like us.
I mean, it feels like their version of the fae.
Yeah,
sort of.
And we're like, what's the difference between this and a shadow person in your room at night, or a mimic? You can see
so many details.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just
the details.
Yep. But it's weird that people are all seeing the same thing. Grin. But again, it's Reddit, so how do you know that these people are telling the truth?
I'm sure you can find other stories not on Reddit though.
Yeah.
Did you YouTube
no
search it on YouTube?
I don't like YouTube videos. I think I just don't get into them. I know you like them.
Well, we're on YouTube, so
I know, but I'm just saying like hokey YouTube. Like the 10-minute videos that are super dramatic, and I just don't like those.
Yeah, but there's great stuff like the Haunted Objects podcast.
Well, yeah, there's admittedly great stuff, but there's a lot of people that
oh yeah,
like
that Whitewater video I sent you was kind of like that.
Yeah, and I get it, but I just don't like those because I think those are about as
they're sensationalized.
Those you can verify those about as much as you can Reddit stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, I generally don't look for stuff on YouTube. I just don't. I must have a blind spot with that. I just don't.
There's some really great channels out there, for sure.
Nexpo, I think is a really good one. So I watch some really good ones, but a lot of like the really dinky, sensational, hokey ones, I just don't get into. Another story. Somebody says, quote, I've seen him at least 6 times over the past 15 years.
Wow.
The face is blurry, but the shirt stands out more than anything, but it's always standing in a doorway. Has anyone got more information about him? Somebody replies to this, said, I was Googling ghosts in red plaid shirts and came across your post. I know it's 3 years late, but yesterday I was in my kitchen making food when I saw a man in a red plaid shirt with black hair quickly peek around the door at me. I swore it was my mom, but she confirmed that she hadn't moved a muscle. I'm not sure if this is relevant, but I sadly lost a fledgling sparrow I was attempting to nurse back to health that morning. My mom has a theory that whatever this thing is an earth spirit who came to say thank you for trying to heal the bird, which is interesting. Like a lumberjack type thing, maybe an earth spirit. I don't know.
It's the only positive experience I've heard of so far.
Yeah,
though.
but that wasn't even that positive,
Allegedly.
where it was just
Right.
looked around the corner at him. But it's never like threatening. It's always just like checking you out.
Creepy grin, though.
The creepy grin is weird. Somebody else says, "Oh my God, I've seen this flannel guy in the basement of a 100-plus-year-old home in Kansas City, and I'm not the only person who saw this red flannel shirt wearing man."
Maybe it's almost like the grin thing, something that's not human.
Yeah.
And is like, this is how people smile.
Yeah, and it
but
just
can't
doesn't
quite
get it
do
right. It just doesn't get it right.
That's even creepier.
This person says, "I once brought it up to a roommate who also lived in the house a couple years later, and she responded that she'd seen the same man in our basement as well. We even described him the same to each other." Somebody else says, "I know that many who see him have also seen a large black dog. My mom and little brother have seen the dog, but I haven't. I know that there are a large number of us who have seen this man, many who have had scary or unpleasant encounters. I see him as a protector when he shows up, like he's always watching over me from a safe distance. I often wonder if he's like the lead ancestor who monitors his family, or if he's a guide who guides people through dreams and appearances." Somebody says, "Has anyone else had a Flannel Man experience? I'm asking because I've been growing increasingly more intrigued with Flannel Man and other entities or cryptid sightings. I understand that Flannel Man might not be classified as a cryptid, and there's a lot of skepticism surrounding the validity of his existence due to the seemingly sudden surge of first-hand accounts." It's easy for me to read this. "But from what I'm hearing, Flannel Man has been at large for quite some time. Let me go back to when I was about 7 or 8 years old, living in my childhood home, a log cabin on a lake. At the time, I shared a room with my younger sister, and like most siblings in the early 90s, we had a bunk bed in which I slept on the top. I remember this night in almost crystal clear detail and have thought about it many times over the past year or so. It was a summer night, I remember, because we were out of school. I had gone to sleep like normal, but woke up in the middle of the night for what seemed like no reason at all. My eyes suddenly shot open and were drawn to the door that leads to our back porch. There were 2 glass doors that opened up to the back porch that overlooked the lake, one in the living room and one in mine and my sister's room. We had sliding vertical blinds that we could open and close with a metal chain, but they were always closed because my mom was a bit paranoid about weirdos looking in, even though we lived in the middle of nowhere. This night was no different. However, now when I looked towards the glass door, a shadow was cast on the closed vertical blinds. Creepy. I was suddenly paralyzed with fear. I began to sweat and wanted...
Especially you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, yeah. I began to sweat uncontrollably and wanted nothing more than to scream, except I couldn't. I physically could not move or speak at all. So sleep paralysis, it sounds like. On the back porch where the glass doors led to, there was this hanging swing. The shadow figure I saw appeared to be a large man wearing a collared flannel shirt, sitting on the swing, slowly swaying back and forth. It looked as if there was a very bright light behind the shadow, possibly a full moon, but the light, in contrast to the shadow, seemed brighter than the moon. The thing I find most terrifying about this experience was that I could just see the outline of the man in much more detail than you'd expect with it just being a shadow. I could see the outline of his ears, shirt, shoulders, and hair. He just sat there swinging back and forth, but never moved more than that.
It's the first time someone's described him as large.
Yep. Yeah.
Although he was sitting down, so how can you really tell?
Yep. At this point, I must clarify that this may have been sleep paralysis, which was no stranger to me in my childhood and something that I still deal with to this day. But I have never had a bout of sleep paralysis last for what seemed like an infinite amount of time. I felt very much awake and in control of my thoughts. I was just unable to move or speak. The next morning when I woke up, my sister was playing on the floor, and I immediately asked her if she'd woken up in the middle of the night for any reason. Without breaking focus with her toy, she just nonchalantly said no. I got out of bed and found my mom in the kitchen. I asked her if she had been awake last night or had any people at the house that might have been out swinging on the back porch. Confused but lighthearted, she also said no. I told her what happened to me the night before in full detail, as calmly as I could. She sort of laughed it off and said we would see if we could figure out what made the shadow when I went to bed that night. The thought of investigating where the shadowy figure came from freaked me out the rest of the day. When night fell and it was time to settle in bed, I reminded my mom of the encounter from the previous night. We began turning lights off, shining lights on and behind furniture, and my mom even went outside to sit in the swing in an attempt to recreate the shadow. Nothing even remotely resembled the figure. I began to panic as the idea sunk in that I experienced something beyond explanation. That night, I laid in my bed, staring at where I saw the figure the night before, awaiting its return. However, it didn't come back. I finally fell asleep and gave little thought to the shadow person after that. However, I would think about it from time to time and wonder if what I had seen was something interdimensional. Fast forward to 2020, I began having strange and paranormal experiences as well as synchronicities beyond my explanation. I also first heard about the Flannel Man while listening to the podcast Strange Familiars and was instantly reminded of that strange night from my childhood. I often wonder if that was the Flannel Man, a ghost, ultra-terrestrial, or something just a freakishly long bout of sleep paralysis caused that made me susceptible to a very thin veil of reality. I post this to see if anyone else had had something similar to happen to them or specifically had a Flannel Man encounter. What time are we looking at? 1:40? Oh, we're doing good. So from the website Phantom and Monsters, which is a great website, somebody writes, quote, 2 of my friends and I were driving south along Route 27 between Westminster and Mount Airy, Maryland. We were headed to a skate park. This road has huge views of vast fields and farmland, so you can see pretty far on either side of the road. I was just sitting in the back, my friend riding shotgun, but didn't see anything. He's generally observant anyway, so I won't be mentioning him further. The driver was my friend visiting from serving in the Navy for 4 years. This was his first time home since high school. This dude is what you would call a stick in the mud, a straight-up government brainwashed soldier who lost his identity and personality in the service. He takes no guff and will be physically angered by me and my friends joking around and talking about aliens or any type of paranormal or conspiracy stuff. He will tell you that nothing exists except us and the earth. Yes, until this particular day. So we're driving down this road and I'm staring out looking at the scenery. Then I see a man just standing in the middle of a field. Completely catches my eye since the fields are so empty and plowed at that time of the year. He's just standing in the field staring at the sky, maybe 150 yards off the road, far enough that you can't make out distinct features, but close enough so you know there's a 6-foot-tall dude in a red flannel jacket standing out there.
6 feet tall.
Yep.
Okay.
I never took my eyes off him and looked at him for maybe a long second or two as we drove past. But in the seconds as we came parallel to him and past him, it was no longer a 6-foot man, but now it was suddenly a deer, a straight-up white-tailed deer. There was no transformation. It didn't drop half-sized and become a deer. It was just a man, and then it wasn't in the blink of an eye. I can't explain it any further. It just changed instantly like a special effect. I sat there for a second pondering what I just saw. I almost didn't want to say anything since I figured they'd laugh at me, thinking my Navy friend would get mad and tell me I was stupid. But I noticed the car was weirdly silent in that moment, so I decided to break the awkward silence. I said, dude, I just saw the weirdest thing a minute ago. And my Navy friend, dead straight face, said, was it a guy standing in the field that all of a sudden turned into a deer? My jaw literally dropped to the floor, and I said, you saw that too? And he said, yeah, I wasn't going to say anything because it seemed so ridiculous. But when you mentioned something weird, I know that you saw it too. We talked about it plenty after that, but we saw a tall guy in a red flannel jacket transform into a deer like a pure switch in thin air. We don't get talk much anymore since he's serving in Greece, but he tells his bunk buddies the story all the time and no one believes him. I'm a misfit and carry the story to tons of skate parks and parties. No one ever believes me until I say, well, Joey was there and saw it too. Then they instantly stop laughing and say, Joey saw the thing. We know that he has no fun or imagination, so the fact that we saw the same thing at the same time blows my mind.
He was like a skinwalker?
I don't know.
That's weird.
And then surprisingly, something like this was also seen in the book The Mothman Prophecies by John Keel. From the book The Mothman Prophecies, it says, Point Pleasant, West Virginia, March 1967, late night. 16-year-old Linda Lilly woke up one night and saw a large figure towering over her bed. It was a man, she said, a big man, very broad. I couldn't see his face very well, but I could see that he was grinning at me. She got up from bed with a terrible scream. She cried out that there was a man in her room. He walked around the bed and stood right over me. I screamed again and hid under the covers. When I looked up, he was gone. She ran into her mother's room. When asked for a full description of the man, Linda said that he had been wearing, quote, a checkered shirt. Around the same time, her mother, Doris Lilly, began to receive strange phone calls at home. Each evening around 1700 hours, her phone would ring, and when she answered, she heard only a bizarre metallic voice speaking in an incomprehensible language. It was guttural and rapid. These calls only came when she was alone.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're starting to see some differences in his description, though.
Yep. Yeah.
The phone call is weird.
It really is. Do I got time for more? Oh, I got time for more. Somebody says, okay, this is my first Reddit story, so bear with me. I've had many encounters, but this is the one that has always stuck with me. I lived in the same house growing up from birth to adulthood. We never moved around. This house was old and haunted in more ways than one that I'm going to tell you right now. It had partially burnt down before my parents bought it. It was in foreclosure, and honestly, it should have been torn down, but they got it for next to nothing and planned on fixing it. It was so big and so old. It was so big and so old it had a separate stairway to a former slave's quarters, which is irrelevant, but anyway. I was young and edgy and dumb and thought it was cool to play with the Ouija boards. I used to frequently talk to one entity named David. He told me he died in a fire. This was before I knew the house had burnt down. David told me that he liked to watch me and follow me. Ouija boards are just bad. Stay away from Ouija boards. He told me he was in love with me and hated any guys I would talk to. I just thought it was silly. Anyway, I used to keep the Ouija board in my closet. If I would fall asleep without closing the closet door, I would wake up with 3 parallel scratches on me, usually my back. Surprisingly enough, that didn't scare me. I just tried to make sure to close the door, but no one unless my family noticed if it was, what did she say here? But my family noticed it too. Anyway, one night I was dead asleep. I remember hearing what I thought was rummaging around at the foot of my bed, and for whatever reason, I thought, what would my dad be looking for? He never comes into my room. I rolled from my side onto my back with my knees up. The rummaging sound continued. I opened my eyes and saw a tall man wearing a red plaid button-up shirt tucked into his jeans with a big belt buckle and cowboy boots. He had black, shaggy hair and a scruffy face, like he had gone a week or so without shaving. He walked into my room from my door over to the foot of my bed on the right side by my knees. When he turned and looked at me, he bared his teeth. They were all pointy like Christopher Walken's character in Sleepy Hollow.
No.
At the same time he bared his teeth, his eyes completely turned dark red. Yikes. He turned back towards my door, still looking at me. When he got to where he would pass by my knees, he just disappeared. I was too scared to get up. I rolled over and threw the blanket over my head and fell back asleep after a bit.
How do you fall back
I
asleep?
don't know. The next day I told my then boyfriend about it. He went white and said he saw the silhouette of a man similar standing on the balcony outside his bedroom last night around the same time, but it was only there a few seconds before disappearing. My parents moved about 4 years ago, and I know the girl that lives there now. She frequently posts on Facebook about seeing weird things in her house and how afraid they are of that bedroom. Somebody else says, yes, I've seen the same thing when I was between 5 and 8 years old, maybe 1977. And it wasn't due to being conditioned by video games or movies. I didn't get to watch much TV because of the foul language. It was turned off, and I definitely didn't get to watch any scary shows. I woke up from sleep one night, and he was standing in my doorway 2 feet away. Oh, that's the same one I just read. Never mind. Somebody else writes, my family's old house backed onto a pretty substantial forested ravine. I slept on the ground level floor, my room being at the back of the house. On 4 separate occasions over the span of 5 years, I saw a tall man dressed in a flannel shirt, blue jeans, and a red hat walk through my room with a dog leash in his hand. He would briefly stop at the same spot every time and look around. That's weird.
It's the first time I've heard of a hat.
Yeah, somebody else says, quote, there are apparently many common Flannel Man sightings. It's the only paranormal experience I've had. I saw it twice in my first apartment. Woke up on 2 separate occasions where I saw a man in a red flannel shirt standing outside my door, where he turned and then walked into the kitchen. Both times I jumped up out of bed to go after him, but once I reached the kitchen, there was nobody there. Somebody said, I've seen him when I was a kid in Tucson many years ago, getting out of the shower, drying off, turning to grab something. All of a sudden, there's a guy there with a red and black flannel shirt and jeans.
You're naked?
He had a Batman-looking head. I don't get what that means.
What?
I don't know. I screamed and he didn't disappear until my dad came in and he picked me up and then the flannel guy was gone. My husband saw a flannel man, or I guess half of one, when he was driving home from work one night on the highway. He said the guy who was wearing a red and white flannel button-down shirt was standing near the center divider, but he was kind of misted out at the shoulder area, so he couldn't see a face. Somebody else says, just got major goosebumps reading that page you linked. There's a story in my family with a flannel man. In the early 1970s, my grandma saw a man in a red checkered flannel shirt walk by her bedroom in the middle of the night. She shot up, slammed the door, and locked it, leaving her son to deal with the flannel man by himself. Of course, no one was there. So there you go. There are some flannel man. It's creepy.
The common details are weird. Like always
like 5'8", 6 feet, smiling.
Seen in a hallway or a doorway.
Yeah, it's always seen in a hallway or doorway. It's just weird how many people have seen this thing. You know, so what do you think? What do you think about the flannel man?
I feel like there's too many stories to just scoff at.
But so many of them involve the person waking up or knowing that they're paralyzed. Like there's so much sleep paralysis
But
stuff.
I've never seen the same thing twice in a sleep paralysis episode. It's not like I have that common thing that always shows up in my...
No, but it's like the old hag where people would see the old hag sitting on their chest.
Yeah, or people who have reoccurring dreams. I could see if they had sleep paralysis, they would have the same... Lucy's about to freak out, by the way. Jim is home.
Oh, God. Lucy's going to go nuts.
I guess I could see how people would see the same thing repeatedly, but
then it's also
people
like,
seeing the same thing.
Do people read stories on Reddit and then when they have sleep paralysis,
it's what appears
it dredges
to them.
up from their
It could be.
unconsciousness? Like,
but a lot of these people say, I didn't know this was a thing until I found this.
No, and the fact that some of these stories go back to the 70s, you know, this is like I never knew the Flannel Man was a thing, and after researching it, it's creepy.
Very creepy.
You know,
the first thing I would think is that someone broke into my house.
Yeah.
The fact that nobody called the cops is interesting.
The one where they were outside the door swang is weird to me.
Like almost like a drunk guy got into your and knocking on your door. That's like so creepy.
Yeah. I don't know. The guy that crawled out of my bathroom in my creepy apartment had a blue and black checkered flannel shirt.
Jesus.
Oh.
Scared the bejesus out of us. Hi.
Say hi to the camera. Morning, Kurt. Oh. Oh, Lucy's jealous.
How dare you?
Welcome home.
Wow, she was very quiet. I didn't know he was like, that really scared me.
I got a kiss from him.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's cute. Thought it was a Flannel Man walking. I didn't know he was going to walk in
he wasn't
here.
Neither did I.
Scared us.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. The guy that crawled out of my bathroom, blue and black flannel shirt, but he didn't follow a lot of this stuff. I never saw his face because his head was looking down, stringy, dripping white hair. I think he was barefoot.
And someone said to you that could have been you in the future.
Something mocking me.
Yeah.
Like, this is how you're gonna die, old and alone, crawling out of a bathroom. But the only thing that it had in common was the flannel shirt.
Yeah.
But,
and it is the one that you wear that you said is like the death shirt. That I believe that is buffalo plaid. It's a very specific type of plaid.
Yeah, it is. I was going to go into more depth and research buffalo plaid shirts, but I didn't know if people wanted me to, you know.
Yeah,
but,
I feel like it's probably less about
the
type of plaid.
Yeah, but it's like, what is this thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
And again, like, it's like when you see the Hat Man in your room or a shadow person in your room. It's like, are all these things the same thing? And you see it differently based on something? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm flabbergasted that the Flannel Man is a thing because I never knew this was a thing, but it is.
Everybody's being haunted by the Brawny Man.
Yeah, it does. It reminds me of the Brawny Man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Is it a lumberjack?
Very bizarre.
It's just crazy. So let us know what you think. Have you guys seen a Flannel Man? If other than me, if you have, let me know.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. My song choice for today. Love this song. This is like one of my all-time favorite songs from the early 2000s. I want to say it's from like 2003 or 2004. When this song came out, she got a lot of grief from people for changing her style. And it's one of those things where if you love a band and all of a sudden they change how they are, you get mad because you feel like you own the band. You know what I mean?
It's like Paramore. People, longtime fans aren't thrilled with their newer music.
Like, I love this song. I'm going to link to the crappy quality alternate version video of the song because she's not a crush of mine, but in this video she is. And it's just her against a wall, dancing around and singing. And I just think this is one of the best songs of the early 2000s. So some YouTube comments for this. Somebody writes, great song then, great song now. One of the best songs at describing that unrequited feeling that love oft times gives. Her best on a great album. Somebody else says, I've been listening to her for years. I'll have to say that this song is catchy and very poppy. She does seem to be pandering to a younger audience now. The dense overproduction and the monochrome video and the, quote, dancing she does here, well, it's not the woman I know. Gone are the rough and candid lyrics and the lo-fi instrumentation.
Am I going to know who this is?
I have managed to make myself sad now. Somebody else says, it takes a real badass to suddenly change up their style and not give an F what people think. She still gets a +1 in my book. Somebody else says, my crush on her just entered its 3rd decade now. Somebody else says, Can't believe this song is over 20 years old. It hasn't changed at all. She truly is extraordinary. And it is the song Extraordinary by Liz Phair.
Oh, Liz Phair. Okay.
Like, I was never a hardcore Liz Phair fan. I know a lot of people were.
Yeah.
But when this album came out, this song, Extraordinary, and Why Can't I, were like two.
Oh, Why Can't I?
Yeah,
know that
were
one.
two poppy hits.
Very.
And people hated that she was going, that all of a sudden, everybody says she's sold out, that she was poppy now. But this song, Extraordinary, I think is so good. I think this is one of the best pop songs ever written. And a lot of people either don't know it or they hate it.
I'd have to hear it.
If you heard it, you would know it.
Yeah.
But I think it's such a good song. And people just gave her so much guff about changing a selling out. And I'm like, whatever. Like, I love Why Can't I and Extraordinary. I think they're such good songs.
I think it's okay for people to evolve.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't.
For their music
like,
to
you
evolve.
You don't want your person to evolve. But that is the song for this episode, Extraordinary by Liz Phair. I love it. And I didn't write it down, but
we have a question?
The listener question was, how many people does Kurt have a crush on anyway? So here's the thing.
You ever quantified that?
Like, I don't know. Ever since I read that question, like, I have crushes on everybody. I mean, that's just, but is it really a crush, or do I just like them a lot? You know what I mean?
There's a difference between a crush.
There is. And I realized that strangely this week. So I can't really say much because I don't want people to know who she is, because some of the people listen to this podcast know this situation I'm going to say. But there is somebody, a girl that I see every now and then. I'm not going to say where because that would give it away to some people. But I ran into her at the public library this week. She doesn't listen to this podcast, I think, thank God, because if she does, she's going to know. But it's just like, I ran into her at the public library. One of the hosts of the Felicity Was Here podcast knows, because I was messaging about it. But I ran into her at the public library when I was dropping off books this week. And when I talk to her, I just stammer over my words, and I'm sweaty and just like shaky. That's a crush. And I'm like, dude, this is like a legit crush when I talk to her. Like, I don't know what to say.
And weird.
I get weird, and I'm usually like, I'm usually good talking to people. You know what I mean? When I run into somebody, but when I run into her, I just get uncomfortable and don't know what to say, don't know what to do with my arms, and it's just weird. And I'm like, cute. when I was going back to my car after that, I'm like, oh my God, that is a crush. That's a hardcore crush. Like, I have a super big crush on this girl. She's married and stuff, so it's not, like I said, I can't say
it's not a possibility.
I can't say where I usually sometimes see her, because then somebody that listens to the podcast is gonna know. I will say it was somebody that worked at the school with me for a little while when I was working at the school.
Okay.
But yeah, like it's weird. It's like you said, it's like a giddy feeling, but then just being like freaked out and be like, what do I say? Do I sound like an idiot? And like, when you walk away from someone after talking to them and you're like, oh my God, I sounded so stupid.
Yeah.
That was me that day.
You literally get the butterflies.
Yes, yeah. So like, that is a legit crush. My other ones I don't think are crushes as much as I just really like the person, but I think I end up calling that a crush.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a crush. So I don't think I have crushes on that many
Great
people.
Paramore song, by the way. Crush.
That was the one song. I told you the story when I was staying at Corey's house years ago, dog sitting when they were gone. He had Rock Band, and I sat in his basement, and that was the Crush by Paramore was the one song that I could sing and get an A+ on difficult.
That's
so
nice.
Apparently my singing is a lot like Haley Williams.
Well, dang.
So I'll have to do a song.
That's something.
I'll have to do a song at some point. But that was the only question, was about Kurt's crushes.
All right.
And I don't know. I have like... Yeah, we'll just stick with that. Like, I do have a couple real crushes, but when I say I have a crush on someone, I think it's just, I really like this person.
Yeah.
I just think I just phrase it poorly, you know?
Right.
But when I ran into the one at the library, she's a crush.
Crush is the most, like, widely used word for...
Yeah. She reminds me so much of Felicity from the show. The way she talks, the way she looks, like, she reminds me so much of Felicity, but she is a legitimate crush of mine. But she's married, and I'm too old to even want to be with anybody anyway. So there's that.
You're at mid-50s.
That's too old.
Oh my gosh.
That's too old. Although Facebook constantly tells me that lonely seniors in my area are looking for me. So, and there's seniors.
I hope I'm not thinking of myself as a senior in 10 years.
But the thing is, like, I'm like next year when I turn 55, that's like senior citizen discount. That's
I think it's in the 60s.
No, senior citizen discount around town is like 55, and I'm going to be a senior citizen.
You're still
next year.
Very working, productive person.
I'm not.
Society.
I'm half in the grave. But that's just me. Most 55-year-olds are probably good. But I just feel old. It sucks. Like, getting old sucks.
Yeah, it does.
It's just been hitting me a lot recently.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Oh, whatever. You're a young
pup.
I'm
about to turn 48, people. A couple weeks.
That's pretty much when things started to go south for me. So,
well, something to look forward to.
just be ready. So that's depressing. We'll end this episode on that depressing note that getting old sucks. I think my last music recommendation was Gracie Abrams.
Yes. I thought of that when I was watching Lost.
Because I have money in my Amazon from that receipt thing I do every month from the Amazon Shopper Panel app where I send pictures of 10 receipts, I get $10. Which they just now changed to you get 15 cents. Which annoys everybody because...
What? It went from $10 to 15 cents?
It went from $1 per receipt to 15 cents. Yeah.
Is it even worth it now?
No. So everybody that uses that app is so annoyed.
Yeah.
Because it was an easy, like I'd go to Rob's grocery store.
They were probably losing a lot of money.
Yeah. I'd go to Rob's grocery store, get a soda, scan my receipt, right there's $1.
Yeah,
So they were losing tons of money, but I have a lot of money in my Amazon account because of that. And I only really use it for albums. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy Gracie Abrams' latest album. It's
like digitally?
Yes, it's all I've been listening to. I absolutely love it. She's very Taylor Swift-ish, but I love this album. I'm obsessed with it, obsessed with her. I listen to it all the time. So Gracie Abrams, I think it's called The Secret of Us. There's a song on it called Us that she does with Taylor Swift. She's open for Taylor Swift, but I am just so in love with this album. It's just so good. So there's my album recommendation too, for free. So I think that's it. We're not going to do a side sessions today. We're going to do that over Skype sometime this week. Can you think of a list you want to do?
I'll think about it.
Think about it.
Okay.
We're running out of list ideas, I think.
No, we won't.
But no, after
just like this, we're never going to run out of topics.
No, I don't think we are either. Because,
you finally admit it.
Well, we have how many states? We haven't even ventured into strange countries yet.
Yeah.
So we have
listener suggestions,
stories,
huge.
Reddit stories.
Yep.
I think we're going to go until one of us is like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So there you guys go. Let us know what you think. Whitewater, love the town. Didn't get any creepy vibes from it. Sorry.
Flannel Man. Have you seen
Flannel Man? Creepy vibes from that.
That was creepy.
If you've seen the Flannel Man, let us know.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep an eye out for new Flannel Man stories because I'm kind of really obsessed with the Flannel Man stuff. It's like, what is this? It's never really threatening, although something's smiling at me in an unnatural smile.
Some are more sinister than others.
Yeah, some are more sinister than others, but is it just the Hat Man? I don't know.
A different version of the
Hat Man. I don't know.
Man.
It's just weird. So hopefully you guys like this episode. Again, the next episode won't really be new because it's already been recorded, but you guys haven't heard it yet. You know, you guys won't even notice anything different. It's just that we're not going to get together and record.
Mm-hmm.
Krista's your birthday's coming up. Mm-hmm. So you're having a little break for your birthday.
Yes. We took the week off.
Any fun plans?
I think we might go to Door County one day. Probably go to this town called Princeton that has a flea market outside.
Nice.
Maybe we'll do a Whitewater day.
You guys should do a Whitewater day.
We'll see.
You and Jim should go there.
Yeah.
You guys walk hand in hand down the college campus.
Yeah.
I think that'd be so cute. Well, happy birthday in advance.
Thank you.
I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but I just can't think of it. Anything else you can think of?
Mm-mm.
I haven't checked our P.O. box in a while, so God knows what's in there.
Okay.
Probably Matthew Thornton letter.
Probably.
I still got to open the ones we got. So there you go.
The deets.
The deets. That's what I was forgetting. You can email us at TheStrangeSessions@gmail.com. Krista does an amazing job on Instagram at TheStrangeSessions. I love our Instagram listeners so much. You can send postcards and snail mail to The Strange Sessions, P.O. Box 434, Manitowoc, Wisconsin, 54221-0434. You can call our lonely phone line and leave a message at 920-443-9602. Flannel Man, if you're out there, leave us a phone message.
Not in a weird
not in like a weird
low-body,
metallic.
garbled
Yeah, don't do that
voice.
because that's going to creep me out. You can send any listener stories you have to TheStrangeSessionsStories@gmail.com.
Can you actually send all of this to me, and I'll start putting that stuff in the show notes for the YouTube
totally.
channel too.
Totally. These are
Could
all
you do it like right away though? Like
Yeah,
today?
I could
before
do it
you
when
leave
I'm
my
still
house,
here.
actually?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, I can do that.
Cool.
So thank you guys so much for listening. Our coffee subscribers, we love you guys. Thank you for paying for our Whitewater trip and our nifty
and our
Whitewater shirts. And still weirded out by our car thing, our missing time coming back.
It's very weird.
Were we taken by the fae? Did the Flannel Man grab us for a while? Did the witches of Whitewater just grab us? I don't know. Something did. I don't know. It was just weird.
It was very weird.
So thank you guys for listening. Again, the next episode has been recorded already. So if you send us something, a story or something, it won't be talked about in that episode because that episode is already in the books.
Yeah, new strangers joining the page will have to wait until the following episode to hear their shout out.
I think the following episode I'm going to do a strange states.
Okay.
I got a state in mind that I'm thinking about picking, but if you between now and say 2 weeks from now, if you really want to pitch your state for us and we haven't covered it yet, go right ahead. But I think I'm going to do Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. Unless
talk
somebody
about
can.
the Paulding Light. We did an episode.
We did
on
that. Yeah,
yeah.
we poo-pooed that way back in
it.
like season 2. But if you want to pitch a state to us, go right ahead. Otherwise, it's going to be Michigan.
Cool.
So thank you guys so much for listening. We love you.
We do.
From Krista's basement, I can't believe I got kissed by Jim. From Krista's basement. Until next time, stay strange. We
wow.
didn't do good.
That was terrible.
We were off on that one. Oh, well.
I was so focused on like
on the wave. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, strangers.
Hey, strangers.
It is Kurt and Krista. We are in Krista's vehicle on our way to Whitewater, Wisconsin for an upcoming episode. The town has like a super fascinating history of occultism, I guess you would call it, and supposedly haunted places. So we are on our way there to check it out, and we will give you, not live, but we'll give you on-the-scene reports from the places we go when we get there. Sound good?
It's going to be a little nostalgic for me because it's where I met Jim
27
years ago.
I've always wanted to visit Whitewater, so I'm super excited that we're going there. We have a nice day for it.
Yeah,
it looks like
beautiful.
Looks like the weather's going to be good. So we're looking forward to it. So we will get back on here for some audio when we get to some of these locations. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, it is Kristen. On the University of Wisconsin Whitewater campus, actually, where our first cemetery we're going to visit is, but we're not 100% sure we can get in it. It's weird that they have a barbed wire fence. Yeah. Like, are people like clamoring to get into the cemetery? I'm going to go down to this door just to see what it says. Like, is there a sign that says it's closed? Like, you figure a cemetery has to be open.
Yeah, what if you have family here?
Maybe it's not open here?
Yeah, that doesn't look like a regular entrance.
No, let's go up the sidewalk. God, it's nice out.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We picked a good day.
I'm off-put by the barbed wire.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Why would you need barbed wire at a cemetery? Unless, like you said, it's rumored to be haunted, so people are constantly climbing in. I don't know.
But still, if you have relatives here, you should be able to come in anytime you want. And I don't think there's a way in.
I'll find out.
Whew.
Oh, we get a workout today.
Yeah, we are. Walking uphill.
This is pretty.
This feels like college campus-y.
It does.
I have to sit on this bench. I'm pooped from walking up that hill.
Oh.
No, see, the fence ends here.
Maybe there's another way in. Do you need a sock?
So it's just a random sock. It's a little creepy.
This is weird. Well, this is really weird, right? Oh.
All right, we found our way into the cemetery. Good job, Krista.
Little perseverance.
That is not an EVP. That's a train in the background.
Are you recording? Oh, I
Yep.
guess you have your watch thing on.
I'm recording on the recorder,
Oh,
too.
duh, that's right. Oh. What is the last name?
Horon.
Oh.
And the north...
So what, do you have a map open? Like, what
No.
direction are we heading right now?
I can open my compass on my phone. But
Okay. I feel like we're heading north. North, slightly west.
so the northeast corner is where a student hung themselves. So we should
I think that
try
would be over there,
for
but-
EVP there.
Yeah. Make sure we're heading in the right direction. It'd be funny if it was back there. Just by the position of the sun, I feel like that has to be northeast.
This is northeast.
Okay.
And I'd like to find Nellie Horan's grave. But I just
It's
don't...
not a big cemetery.
No, it's not. There's people playing tennis. This is like super peaceful.
Yeah.
This does not feel creepy to me at all.
No. Cemeteries never do feel creepy to me, though.
No, and it helps that it's like in the smack dab in the middle of the campus.
I cannot walk in a straight line. Wow.
Drinking?
Yeah. Those almonds that got me.
Like, I'm guessing her tombstone would be, like, there's
Somewhere
some
in
old
the
ones.
older-
Yeah.
Yeah. These all look a lot newer.
Lots of little critters running around this cemetery.
Is that like a little mole? What
It's
is
a,
that?
oh, I
it's
just
so
went into
cute.
a hole. Should I reach in there?
Yeah, I highly advise that.
Got Nellie Horan. The one that supposedly, she's the one that poisoned her.
Her sister
Yeah.
got off because she's pretty.
Well, had a point. If you're pretty, you can't be guilty. Sophia.
So far, no mosquitoes.
No. So
Pretty happy about that.
the student hung themselves in that corner of the cemetery.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I mean, do we know that happened?
Well, that's where the dog didn't want to go. In the story.
Yeah. Roach. Last name Roach.
Northeast corner. The student had died in the northeast corner of the cemetery. And their dog's unusual behavior occurred in that same corner where they started their venture.
It does seem to be like getting to be the older.
Yeah.
Like some of these are older.
Lots of insect noises.
Yeah. I think those are cicadas, aren't they? I could be wrong.
So is this tree?
There's one over here in the corner.
Yeah, because this is the corner.
Could be.
Oh, a deer.
Oh my god.
It's trying to get out of the. It's trying to get
Oh
out.
my goodness.
It's stuck in the corner and it's trying to get out.
Well, I don't want it to hurt it.
No.
Trying to get away from us.
Nope.
It's a deer today. Fine, little guy.
You're fine. We're not going to hurt you. How's it going to get out of here?
You have to jump. Or, it's got spots and everything.
I know. So this might be the tree where the person supposedly hung themselves.
Allegedly.
But I also don't want to go closer to that corner because I don't want to spook that deer.
Especially with the barbed wire.
Yep.
I would be horrified if it tried to jump.
Yep. So we'll just let it sit there and pretend we didn't see it. I just don't think it can get out of this cemetery.
I think it would probably go back to the opening.
Like, how would we find Nellie Horon's grave?
I don't know.
All right, this is Krista and I on our way up to the Star and Park Water Tower, which is supposed to be where the witches all were and stuff. Nice shot of my finger in the lens. So there was all talk about barbed wire being on here that was facing the opposite way, and I think it all got taken down. No, there was, because I've seen pictures of it. This is really pretty. Here, selfie of us in front of it.
Yeah. I was taking a video. That's in today. This is a really pretty park. Oh, I would not climb up there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no.
Look at the garbage overflowing.
At least people are using the garbage can.
I guess.
Let's get a picture of us in front of it over here. Erected in 1889. Yeah, here. Did you take video?
I started and I thought I stopped it, but no, apparently I was still taking a video. I'm gonna take a photo. Ooh, I love that.
Wow, that is nice. Watch out, unless you want to be in it.
Oh. So cool.
Okay, let's get a picture of us, selfie in front of it. Here. Perfect. Yeah, there's nothing spooky about this at all.
No. I agree.
I guess if you were here at night, maybe.
Maybe. I could see that.
Now I'm starting to get bit by mosquitoes. What do you think? Any thoughts?
It's cool. It's beautiful. I'm not sure it has anything to do with witches.
What is that on the steps? What is that?
A doll. Does it look like a doll head? Like
It looks-
somebody threw that there? That's creepy.
What? Try and get a picture of it. Is that a doll?
I feel like that is. Like that's the hair.
Why would you do that?
That's creepy.
That's it?
Yeah. You want to go to the student store?
Goodbye, haunted water tower that actually seems really nice and not haunted?
Yeah. Did you want to go to the
Yeah.
store?
Shut this off?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's sunny out, but everything just seems super nice and peaceful and relaxing.
I agree.
And like I said, the fact that it's all nestled in a college campus
Yeah.
makes me think it's more urban legends than anything.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, I'm going to sign off. We'll be back.
Right here.
So we are pretty much concluding our day in Whitewater. We're going to take a little walk through the campus. Krista got to see her old apartment that she met Jim.
27 years ago.
And I love where it is, like hidden behind this thing that people won't even know there was this apartment building back there. But we are going to wrap it up for today. So any comments about Whitewater? I think it's really pretty and doesn't feel evil or weird or anything.
No.
I just really love it. It's just like the quintessential little college town. Look at this couple walking hand in hand. That is so cute. So thank you guys for listening. Back to you, Kurt and Krista, I guess. Bye.